What is it that you desire more than anything? What is it that you really want? What is the formula for overflowing abundance? As the sun rises over New York City, the cityscape is bathed in a golden glow. The Gilded Age was a time of unprecedented wealth and opulence, as the elite built towering skyscrapers and ornate mansions that were the envy of the world. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men of his generation, would one day meet a young man named Napoleon Hill, who went on to become one of the most influential thinkers of the era and author of Think and Grow Rich, Changing the World Forever.
Here's Reverend Ike. Reverend Ike, what is your message?
I have retranslated that portion of the Bible that says the love of money is the root of all evil to read the lack of money is the root of all evil.
I'll ask you each this question, beginning with you, Reverend Ike. How is it that man can have the healing power?
I teach each person that the presence of God, the presence of good, whatever you call God, is within you.
The divine mind is operating in my mind. And as my mind, I am in tune with the infinite. The God presence in me. I see fantastic ideas constantly unfolding in my mind, leading me into ways of success and prosperity. I see myself prosperous.
The Prosperity Summit will be the catalyst for the achievement and earned riches you've been waiting for. Learn from the masters and expect abundance.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Well, it may not be morning where you are. It may not be morning now. It might be the middle of the night because some of you are playing in replays literally around the world, and there is a 24-hour clock. But we welcome you to the Prosperity Summit, where you get to sow and reap abundance. Now, there's two kinds of sowing. There's external and there's internal. And what happens is you got to know that you've got an internal abundance that's greater and it's wonderful. And that what we have had this whole week and including today are the best of the best teachers to show you how to get the inner resources so you can have all the outer resources that you want.
And today you are in for such a treat. First of all, I just want to go through the whole lineup. First of all, you'll be hearing from the amazing, legendary Michael Beckwith, interviewed by Mark Victor Hansen, my husband. Next, we'll be hearing from Kristen Butler. Kristen wanted to change the world by sharing positive messages and started the power of positivity on her Instagram account. Now Kristen has 50 million followers. So you're going to hear about her story and her journey after that. And the following interview you'll hear, actually presentation, will be how to create an exponential life, done by Mark Victor Hansen. Really learning how to take what you have right now and exponentialize it so you can take yourself to the world, because you matter. And I really want to say that from my heart. I was feeling that this morning. Someone needs to hear that message. You matter, and your greatest expression matters to the world. And we just want to help you become that greatest expression of you. So buckle up, get ready for an amazing, exciting day. And thanks for being here, guys.
You're here to make a difference. It makes a difference. It has a lasting, significant, legacy-oriented difference. And now, me interviewing the great, inimitable Dr. Michael Beckwith.
Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce our next guest, especially for me personally, because of my story. I have the one and only Dr. Michael Beckwith here with us today. And from the hit movie, The Secret, and the book, The Secret, Come on up, Dr. Beckwith. I would love to introduce you to everyone here at the Prosperity Summit. Come on up. We want to welcome you here. I'm so grateful because the secret is what changed my life. And I want to say now in front of everyone in the audience, from my heart, thank you. You really were part of this integral change in my life.
It's my joy to meet you in person. Obviously, the teachings have impacted your awareness, and we feel really simpatico with each other because of it. And the secret still has legs. I go around the world, and people are still converging upon me and telling me stories similar to what you just said, that it changed their life, shifted their focus, shifted the trajectory of the emerging paradigm. And interestingly enough, I received an award a couple of years ago for being the spiritual teacher that was in more spiritual movies than any other spiritual teacher. And I had no idea that was even true until I received that award. But The Secret has a very special place in my heart because of the millions and millions of people that it touched and changed. Yeah.
Yes. I'm one of them. And, you know, I'm from Northern Ireland. I was a little girl, moved to New York, and everything changed for me. And today, what I want to do is bring up our good friend, Mark Victor Hansen, who's going to do an incredible interview with you today. And I look forward to hearing all about it.
Thank you so much for bringing us together.
And
Thanks, Cliona.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. And Dr. Michael Beckwith and I have been friends for decades. I've known him before, or when Jack Canfield and I were just starting Chicken Soup for the Soul series. He had no better sense than to let me come and talk at his church. And once in a while, I'm teasing, and I love this guy with my whole heart, soul, mind, and experience. And he was so kind that once in a while he thought so well of me, I guess, that if he had to go preach somewhere else, or a vacation or whatever he did, he would invite me in to stand. Michael, because everybody doesn't know that you run the Hollywood church, and that you would let me sit with everybody from, Marla Trump to the Hulk I sat with because of you, and Halle Berry, and I can just go on and on. How is it that you started this mega church before you got in The Secret, if you don't mind sharing that, sir?
That is a good point, that Agape International Spiritual Center was up and running and doing this kind of work well before I was even in the movie The Secret. And it's interestingly enough that a lot of people like who you just mentioned, Terry the Hulk and Sterling Brown and Hilary Swank and Christina Applegate, and I could go down the list. They come because they love the creative energy that emerges from our spiritual center. It's not dogmatic. It's a no dogma zone. So it's not dogmatic. It's not a high religiosity. It is spirituality, but with a dynamic that moves through me and the people that I teach, of such pure energy that it's the same kind of energy that many of these individuals that you mentioned, these creative people, they know how to get in touch with that energy, how to get in touch with that creative urgency. And so they feel akin when they come in to that kind of dynamic. And so, we're in the middle of celebrating, Mark, our 37th anniversary, 37 years. And Stevie Wonder came last Sunday to be the musical inspiration for us. He attends there as well with his family. And the place was packed, to celebrate our 37th anniversary. So it happened 37 years ago. Before that, I had a spiritual awakening that was very authentic and very real. It shifted me out of the paradigm that I was living in. And it just totally changed my life. I don't know how deep you want me to go into that story.
Go two ways. Number one is what caused that spiritual awakening and paradigm shift? Because if it did it for you, it'll do it for some of the viewers.
Absolutely. I was pretty agnostic at the time. I almost atheistic, because I left the church when I was 16 years old because the theology was too limiting. I loved this guy named Jesus and the teachings, but the rest of the theology was not really truthful. It's not real. I was attending USC at the time. I was a psychobiology major, And I began having some inner experiences that, Mark, I thought it was pathological. I didn't know what was going on with me. So the first thing that I did, Mark, was I stopped smoking weed. I said, you know, I'm in college, I'm smoking weed, selling it a little bit as well, just to be very honest. And the experiences intensified to the point where I would astral travel, I would have visions, all manner of things happened. And it culminated one night. I'm making this very short. I'm giving you a Cliff Note version of this. It culminated one night with two men held me down, and one stabbed me in the heart, and the pain was excruciating, and I died. And when I woke up, I could see that we were surrounded by a universal presence that I called at the time love, beauty. Later on, it expanded to love, beauty, intelligence. This presence, which is never an absence. The lint in the rug glowed with the presence of God. Everything. And I could not get back in the box again, Mark. As a little kid, I would have these little experiences, but I always fought to be normal. But when that happened, I could never go back in that particular box. Now, the thing that happened after that was I got arrested, for selling marijuana. And the inner voice told me that I was going to walk free. I'm sitting in courtroom, Mark. I'm not even paying attention to the court because I'm in this expanded state. The inner voice is telling me I'm walking free. The assistant attorney jumps up and he's interviewing a police officer as to why they raided my house. And the police officer says, well, there was an informant that shared that I wasn't Dr. Beckwith at the time, that Michael Beckwith, was receiving a large shipment of marijuana. And the assistant attorney said, that's hearsay evidence. We demand that the informant come to the court and identify the accused. And the judge said, please have the informant here within 3 days. We come to court 3 days later. The prosecutor says, Your Honor, the informant will not come. He's afraid for his life. The judge said, Mr. Beckwith, I have no other recourse but to set you free. And I left. I have no record. That assistant attorney was Robert Shapiro. He was the assistant to Harry Weiss. He was a young attorney. That was one of his first cases. And I went home. There was a weather vane in my neighbor's house. That weather vane was pointing in the direction that the wind was blowing it. And I said to myself, God, presence, whatever name I shall call you, love, beauty, intelligence. If this is all that I think it means for my life, I want that weather vane to point in my direction against the wind. And before I could finish, the weather vane pointed in my direction, right at me. And I started crying. I just got down to my knees. I just cried like a baby. And I surrendered my life to this presence that is never an absence. Subsequent miracles happened in my life. I grew in the capacity to hold this energy that is more real to me than the very chairs we're sitting on, Mark. And a number of years later, I founded Agape against the resistance that was happening within me. I resisted starting a spiritual community. I was teaching. I became a practitioner. I was a therapist. I saw 6 to 8 people a day. I had seminars. I had workshops before they were popular. But the inner voice said, we want you to start a community. And I fought against it. And finally, the voice said, listen, if you don't do this, we have no more reason to have you on the planet. For real.
I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't laugh at you, Michael, but you are funny.
But that's what they said. And so anyway, I started a vision group. I'm giving you the short version. I started the vision group in my living room. And I basically brought people together to capture a vision of Agape. Before we did the nuts and bolts of a business plan or anything like that, I had to make sure that the people that were around me were carrying the frequency of unconditional love. And that's what we worked on every Thursday for months until it was time to take the next step. Subsequently, I began my first public service on November 30th of 1986. Now we're in 180 something countries. It's global, large, local congregation. As you just mentioned, many people that were well known come to Agape, and they don't come just to be well known. They want to come and get the frequency of what we're teaching. You know, they want to come and get uplifted. They want to be healed. And I'm just privileged to be able to have been doing this for 37 years, been teaching for over 40, but Agape is 37 years. And as you know, you came and spoke there. You would have me speak at your mega events, if you remember.
Absolutely. I'm honored in our great friendship, sir.
Yeah, and you were the one, Stevie Wonder sent Carlton Pearson to Agape, and he would sit in the back. And then you asked me to come to one of your mega events because you wanted to introduce Carlton Pearson to me personally. And so subsequently, Carlton and I, who just passed over, by the way, became a very, very good friend of mine. And so we have a lot of connections together, you and I. Yeah.
I even want you to marry Kristen and I. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to unpack 2 or 3 things he said just so you understand the principle of it, and then he'll go into it in a different and deep, profound way because he is an eclectically wise man. I would add wisdom to the top of your hierarchy, sir. What in Napoleon Hill language, it said 2 things. You got to have a definite purpose. He decided to have the vision group, and then you have 2 come together and mastermind, a dream team, so to speak, because team is together, everyone accomplishes. And you heard him say miracles. They created a 3rd new mind that was invincible, and that bolsters him up. And I can tell you, having been at literally hundreds of Sunday services with Michael, that he wows the audience every time and gets inside everyone, as far as I can tell. I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't get it, because I even stand outside afterwards and the people just say, "Oh man, did you hear this?" And because each one of them gets exactly what they need, because you go from your own sense of personal soul to the collective soul. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Internally, we're all one with the source of all creation. So I am speaking to the one presence that's in all of us. I'm speaking from the one presence that's within all of us. And as you indicated, I had a vision team. We met on a regular basis until there was such simpatico. There was such intuitive connection. We fell in love with loving. We fell in love with service. We fell in love with the awareness that all of our needs were met, even before we could see it. And then that vision team became the first board of trustees. They became the first leaders of all the different ministries. And so then they developed masterminding vision teams of their ministries. They come together and vision and hold the space for that particular ministry. So the whole community was based upon articulating a vision and holding a higher purpose for why we live than our little selves. And so that creates this powerful energy. So as you said, people would walk into this field and they could feel the electricity, the same energy that you could feel when you saw Reverend Ike speak. It was just an energy, not just intellectual, intellectualizing of the spirit. It was the spirit. We used to say, we don't intellectualize the spirit, we spiritualize the intellect. and that's what would occur. And that's what occurred with our friend, Reverend Ike. He spiritualized intellect. So he was brilliant, but it was the activated spirit moving through him. And so I like to feel that to some degree, I'm in that number. I'm in that feeling, you see.
Well, and we put the 2 of them together, both Dr. Napoleon Hill and Dr. Reverend Ike together on this thing, because prosperity is the vitality of the soul, and that's what you're enunciating here. I would feel remiss if I didn't do one of your electrifying stories. Would you mind telling a story of you pop your Achilles tendon playing basketball? Mm-hmm. You go to Africa, and if I'm remembering the story correctly or corrected, Ethiopia or Eritrea, I don't remember which, and you get with the guy that is the leader of the pack, so to speak, spiritually. There's a long line, and they don't let you stay at the end. They know, they witness and could see your soul trajectory, and you were brought to the front. And then that night you went out and you taught me a brand new word, which I'm going to let you use right now, but effulgence, if you would mind alluding to that story.
Well, that was a very powerful story. I was traveling through the continent of Africa. And like you said, a couple of weeks before that, I was picking up somebody at a park. And I just come from Agape, actually. And I had on a suit, shoes, and I started playing basketball with the people. I shouldn't have done it. I hadn't stretched or anything. I went up. I shot 5 times. I made 5 shots in a row. And I went up, and my tendon popped. It was like a loud gunshot. Bam! And I hit the ground. And I said, I need to go to the hospital. I ruptured my tendon, and everybody was laughing. And they said, you didn't rupture your tendon. You'd be in pain if you did that. I said, I am in so much pain, but I'm just holding a space so that I'm not feeling. I'm just putting my attention somewhere else. Anyway, they took me to the hospital. The tendon was indeed ruptured. The doctor said, we can do surgery, or we can see if it connects itself and mends itself. I said, I'll bypass on the surgery. Let me see if I can heal it myself. So for the next 2 weeks, I did my inner work, my inner visualization, my prayer work. I took my herbs. I went to a hyperbaric unit. I did everything that I knew. And I went back 2 weeks later. It had connected and healed. I was still limping, however, but it had healed well enough for me to travel to Ghana. That was the last place I went to. So I'm standing in front of the Ethereal mission. I had just met Brother Tete. Young boy walks up to me and he says, Baba wants to see you right now. I said, what are you talking about? He said, Baba, he wants to see you. He's the healer. And so I check around to see if this was like a true thing. Found out people travel from all over the world to see this man. So anyway, I go into near the jungle, near the was saying long line. People are on the lawn to see this man. It's a long line. And the interpreter brings me in front of the line. He sits out of this window where I can see, I guess we would call him a shaman, a natural healer, traditional healer, work with this woman. He's interpreting for me. I said, well, what is he saying? He's saying this woman wants to be with her soulmate. And the man is telling her, that the healer is saying, well, you can't see her. You pass your soulmate every day, but you still have 2 other relationships you're connected with that's blinding you, which meant she hadn't healed her past 2 relationships. So she could not see the people that were in front of her. So anyway, he says, I'm going to clear you up and then you'll be able to see him. I said, oh, I know what this is all about. So anyway, it's my turn to go in. And he lays on his back and he starts doing his hand like this and he's speaking in his language. I don't know what he's saying. People are laughing and he's interpreting. My interpreter says, he says you were playing basketball and you shot 5 shots in a row. On the 6th shot, you went up and your tendon popped. I said, yes, that's exactly what happened. He said, that was a spiritual injury, that there was jealousy around you because your star was rising so high. He says, but don't worry, you'll be protected. In your world, you call them angels, but we're sending people to be around you all the time so no one can get to you. He said, but you have to come out to the jungle with me tonight and you have to stay with me for 3 days. And I said, I can't stay with you for 3 days. I got a group traveling with me. And everybody started laughing. He says, you don't understand. I sent for you. You think you thought about coming here, but I sent for you. And so I go back to my group. I said, won't be with you at dinner tonight. I have to go into the jungle with this shaman. So anyway, he sends the apprentice out with me. I'm stumbling at night. I'm limping and stumbling. My African brothers are just walking clearly, powerfully. We get out, we do a meditation. It's a sweet meditation. We go back and see the main guy. And he says, what happened? I said, nothing. I had a good meditation. So he gets up and takes me. I mean, there's a tremor that goes through the whole family because he doesn't do this for everybody. He takes me into the jungle and he starts speaking. And then a voice answers him in the middle of the jungle. And he turns toward the voice and says, English. And the voice starts speaking English. And we go out to a clearing and there's a tree there, Mark. And the tree is speaking to me in English. And the tree is giving me a prophecy, telling me about my life, telling me about what I'm going to do. And we finish. And I say, should I leave money? He says, what is a tree going to do with money, Michael? You know? And so we go back to his room and he says, you don't have to be with me for the next 2 days. You assimilated that energy so well that you could actually leave and go back. Now, now when I was walking back, Mark, I could see from the effulgency of the leaves and the trees and the ground, everything was aglow like daylight. Even though it was pitch black, the light shining from the leaves and the tree was as bright as daylight. And this is how the Africans were walking through the jungle. They could see from the luminosity of the trees. So when I get back to the United States, I would go in my backyard. And if I stayed there long enough in pitch blackness, it would come back to me. But we have so much light pollution. There's street lights everywhere. Yep. You can't really get it. You know what I mean? But if I go into a dark place for a long time, it'll come back. But that was my trip to Africa that totally changed my mind. And all those prophecies came true. They said I was going to be one of the founders of what is called the Season for Nonviolence. Me and Arun Gandhi with the Association for Global New Thought, we founded that. And a number of other things. It all happened. So the tree was right.
Yeah. Wow. How is it that other people get to have mystical experiences like you do, sir?
I think in the beginning, because I was two reasons. One, I was hard-headed. You know, I was atheistic, agnostic. I wasn't going to walk into a spiritual center. I wasn't going to walk into one of your mega events. I wasn't going to, you know, it just wasn't going to happen. And secondly, as a kid, I would have these experiences and I would try to shrink them so I could be normal again. So I think I brought it with me. I think there was some past life that allowed me, the work that I did in a past life allowed me to be available. Now, what I know for sure, Mark, is that every being on the planet has the capacity to open up to these spiritual realizations with a level of practice, intentionality, purpose. This presence, called by millions of names, I call it the presence that's never in absence, does not make special people. Everyone has it, but some people specialize. Just like the presence of God doesn't make a special piano player, but if that person specializes in practice, then they will become proficient. They'll become a genius in it. So if we take Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, as an example,
please,
and we actually follow those laws, and we actually practice those laws, we will become specialized in those laws, and we will bear fruit richly. Now, if you just play at it, and you just become slightly interested in it and not really go deep in it, then you'll have slightly interested results. But, you know, and so when you ask me why me, I'm telling you, when I had an opening, the most important thing to me, Mark, was my connection to this presence and the understanding of the laws of the universe and the practicing of these laws of the universe. Mark, I took my little garage when I had very little money and I soundproofed it, and I would go into that little garage every single day. And I would take these books and I would practice these principles. I had a mirror in there. I do mirror exercises. I'd write affirmations. I would say the affirmations 3 different ways to myself out loud, write them. You, Michael, are. I would look in the mirror. You, Michael, are prosperous and healthy and beautiful and magnificent. Then I would talk about myself. He, Michael, is articulate, poised, confident. You, Michael, I talk to myself. You, Michael, are poised, confident, articulate, spiritually powerful. You know, so even though I had this opening, I still had to specialize in being able to hold this energy. But that, Mark, was the most important thing I did every single day. I would go in and do the work until it became just second nature. And the spiritual world became more real to me than the physical 3D world. And I say sometimes people have diminished their perception and they relegate themselves to only 3 dimensions. They're dimensionally challenged. Open yourself up, because there's an infinite capacity. There's infinite good everywhere. We are limitless beings. Why relegate ourselves to 3D?
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you get it, I'm going to unwrap it. All of us can do the mirror technique. All of us got a mirror in our house or a hand mirror or whatever. You can buy one cheap at a CVS or a drugstore. Number 2 is he did it in first, second, and third person, because you got to permeate, penetrate, fill the inner spaces of your mind so you wake up that spiritual. And some of you say, well, wait a second, is that Christian? Yeah, Christ said, my house, my body temple, meaning, has many rooms. That's misinterpreted. It's in Aramaic, the language of Jesus. My house has many dimensions.
Yes.
What he said is it's not height, breadth, width, 3D. There's 4, 5, 7, 12. It depends on how much back to what Christ said is the work I've done, you can do, and greater work. And that's what Michael and I are all about. And that's what Dr. Napoleon Hill was about. And I can guarantee you, having been to both houses of Andrew Carnegie, I don't know if you've been there or not, Michael, the one in New York at 95th and 5th.
I spoke there, yeah.
Yeah, but he had everybody there's anyone. And then I was obviously at his house in Dornoch and 30,000 acres and his own golf course and an organ on every floor and a 60,000 square foot house. And his docet dressed like him, looked like him, sounded like him. And he said, Dr. Hansen, why is it that you are so prosperous? I read it and I'm not. I said, you got to do the do. You think you did until you do the do, but you got to be the be. And the be is when Michael locked himself down. This is what Jesus is talking about. If you don't mind me interpreting you, Michael.
Go right ahead.
Go inside the secret closet of the Most High up here, right? Because what my teacher, Bucky Fuller, said is you got to go from brain, which is just that inventory of intellect, to mind, which can think, which is connected to all, which is why if you and I are made, as it says in Genesis 6:20, whatever it is, 128, Genesis, it says you're made in the image and likeness of the Creator. Now, the Creator is infinite, and Einstein says universe is finite but boundless. That means you and I are creative. We're finite.
Yes.
The human dimensionality is finite, but our mind power, our soul power is boundless. Michael, what do you got to say about that?
Well, we're infinite. We have when we talk about it's being spiritually made in the image and likeness of God, that means we share a faculty with the presence. And that faculty is that we're able to think independent of circumstances, independent of past experiences, independent of anything that has happened to us. We can actually think independent of that and set a new causation in motion. So that to me is what it means to be the image and likeness of God, because God is formless. So it doesn't mean you look in the mirror and say, oh, I'm looking good today, even though that's a part of it. That's a part of it. But it means I get to think right now, as all of you are listening to Mark and I, you can think independent of any circumstances that you're in. And this can be a new beginning in your life. When you hear, in the beginning, God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and there was nothing created without the Word of God. When that happened, there was not even a grain of sand. Nothing existed. There was nothing. So out of nothing, the cosmos, multidimensional universes, solar systems, planets, living biology emerged out of nothing. So if we go into the inner closet, do not take circumstances in there, do not take situations in there, and let this be a new beginning for your life right now. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, love. In the beginning, abundance. In the beginning, prosperity. In the beginning, joy. In the beginning, beauty. And begin to affirm from that space, individuals will set something new in their life, which will begin to disintegrate the circumstances and the situations that's now holding them in bondage. Now that's law. That's not an opinion. That is spiritual law, you see. Yeah.
Wow. I love it. So when did you meet Reverend Ike, and what experience was it like for you?
I met Reverend Ike more than one occasion. I'm trying to, when you said you were going to ask me that, I was trying to remember when I met him. I may have met him at Johnny Coleman's church. I may have met him here in Los Angeles at Guidance. But I remember when he got up to speak, the energy that moved through him, the energy was so activated that was very life-changing just listening to him. There was no doubt in his awareness. There was no conjecture or hypothesis. When he spoke, he knew. He knew the shepherd. He knew the presence. And he could articulate these universal spiritual principles in a way that galvanized people's minds so that they could come out of their littleness and their little paradigms of woe is me and step into an awareness of wow is me. He turned them from woe to wow. He was so articulate. And then having some conversations with him, he was very personable, very generous with his time, loved students. People who wanted to learn, they were open and available. He was very generous with his energy, very generous with his time. And, people would say he was ahead of his time. I don't say he was ahead of his time. I say he was out of time. What was coming through is timeless. And many people mistake his flamboyancy with fluff. No. He could curate prosperity. He could manifest individuals helping to heal themselves. And he had a great time with his human incarnation. He had a wonderful time. He had the prosperity. He had the cars. He had the houses. He had the suits. It was just fun. It wasn't like he was trying to be materialistic. He was just having a great time with the law. It's infinite. Why not do what you want to do with it?
I've never heard it articulated more enthusiastically or correctly. And isn't that true of you too? I mean, you come, and I know that I've been in division groups before we start to have you preach, but I think, no offense intended, but I think you wow yourself once you're on stage. You just are electrifying. You are enlightened, and I want you to answer that. And then also we better give your address. So when all these people are traveling from around the world and they come to LA, how do they get in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your place is packed and there's no parking.
When I step out, I have a theme and a topic, but I step out and then I'm available for what needs to be spoken. I teach, my students, don't speak until you're spoken through, So
that's a great line. Yep.
To open them up. So I was thinking, like the last couple of weeks, I'm speaking, I'm rolling, Mark. And energy's flowing, I'm speaking. And all of a sudden, Rudyard Kipling to my awareness. I haven't read anything about Rudyard Kipling in years. And all of a sudden, Mark speaking about his book, Kim. And in the book, Kim says, who is Kim? And in the book, he repeats this over and over and over again. Who is Kim? Who is Kim? Who is Kim? Until Kim disappears. And what is left, it is eternal presence of his real nature and being. And that is expressing as Kim. And in his book, Kim has a spiritual. Now, I don't even know if I even read this book. But suddenly I know this story and I'm teaching this to the congregation. Yes, I'm wowed. I'm wowed because its energy is flowing through me that I had no precognition as to that was going to come through. And then this past week, Mark, I'm speaking, Francis Bacon comes through. I've never quoted Francis Bacon in my life. And Francis Bacon says, I'm gonna go check the quote, but to paraphrase, it says, Francis Bacon said, if you have a little bit of a philosophy, you'll become an atheist. But if you go deep in your philosophy, you'll bump into religion and spirituality. This starts flowing through me. I stop in the comment. I said, I just quoted Francis Bacon. I've never seen this before. My father's name was Francis. Maybe I'm tuning into something, but it definitely wowed me because that's a quote. That's a paraphrase of a quote by Francis Bacon. So I get into a space and then I get new information while I'm speaking. I become available. Now, it used to scare me because I was never the kind of person that would actually write out a whole talk. I would have, a theme. I'd always meditate. I'm a meditator. I'd open myself up and I get this energy. And then once that energy is there, I know I can just start speaking. And then what I need to say will come. And of course it's spiritual principle. It's not something I don't make up spiritual principles, but I can articulate them Beckwith style. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's so much in what you've just said. First of all, I am a fan of Rudyard Kipling's best friend. It was one of my heroes, Mark Twain. I don't know if you knew they traveled together. And obviously Kipling wrote If, and the first line is what you're talking about, is that if keep your mind about you whilst all others are losing theirs. And that harkens back to 4 or 5 things that you said. One of which is when you go inside the secret closet, you do not bring your problems, circumstances, situations, the downtrodden you, because you're going to the higher sense of you, the higher elevations of you, the different dimensionality of you. And usually, because we grow in spirit, usually it is considered an ascent. And the trouble is the world spends its full time in descent.
Yes.
You'll agree with that totally. But the essence of it is accurate. I mean, when I went bankrupt in 1974, I was reading all the news fit to print. It was all the bad news fit to print in the New York Times, and it was crashing my soul and spirit. All of a sudden I go in to see, like you and I know, Reverend Ike, and I just went, oh boy, this is it. Because he says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And he said, I came out of he was born in 1935, and he was into have-notness and had not enough food for 7 cents to buy a meal back then, and he had no father at home, and he just went through the tortures of the damned. But he said, I see myself someday having luxurious cars, and he'd be holding a little stick at 4 years old, and he could read everything on the ceiling that someday he was going to pull off real magic. And you did his funeral. I was in China, so I couldn't be there. Otherwise, I would have been part of that with you. But it was a lavish place, the United Palace. I mean, gold gilded, because he tuned into the greatness of King Louis XIV, gold gilded age, which didn't serve a lot of people, but it served him, and it served him to be a demonstrator of what abundance could look like. How do you define abundance, Michael?
Well, we live in a sea of abundance. When we think about the presence that's never an absence, infinitude. I mean, the surface mind cannot comprehend what infinite is, something that never begins and never ends. So when we think about abundance, we're living, moving, and having our beingness in abundance. Scarcity and lack is a mental construct. And if you have that as a mental construct, you'll experience scarcity and lack. The world of effects and appearances, people live in that. Lack, limitation, but that's a mental construct. This is a truth teaching, capital T, truth. The truth is that we live in abundance right now. There's abundance of ideas. There's infinite and abundance potential. There's infinite opportunities everywhere. And as we begin to open our awareness to that, we discover opportunities that have been there all the time, but we couldn't see it because our perception was too limited. So all of this inner work that we do is allowing us to have insights to expand our perception so that we can see we live in abundance right now, you see. And so if people were to do the inner work that we have done, I mean, I did it in my garage years ago, and I still do it. I don't not do it. You know, I live in a field of abundance right now. All of my needs are met. I try to bring people into an awareness of what does it feel like to have all of your needs met. Just think of a moment where you had that, and just now cultivate that feeling. The feeling provides the healing, and then the healing is a revealing of what is so. Abundance is another way of saying that the good is infinite, ever present and eternal. And it is the pleasure of the presence to give us the realm of ever expanding good. Woo! Absolutely.
You and I are there, and both of us, our total needs are met. And the other thing is that when you get, ladies and gentlemen, when you get into consciousness where Michael, live, move, and have our being, as it says, what happens is your future is guarded, guided, protected, and it gets bigger, better, and brighter. Would you go along with that, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there's an old saying, you know, you may not know what holds, you may not know what the future holds, but you know what holds the future. and what holds the future is this infinite presence that recreated itself after each and every one of us. So it knows our potential. And we begin to do the inner work, then our potential becomes actualized. See, there's a difference between evolution and unfoldment and creation. Unfoldment is something that's already done. If you take an avocado seed, there's an avocado tree in there. It's already done. The seed needs to be placed in the right condition, and then that which is already done will begin to evolve and unfold and become an avocado tree. And so there's already a destiny. There's something within us that is unlike anybody else, because we're unique. This presence, which is infinite, doesn't repeat itself. So we're all unique. And then as we expand our awareness, we go into the realm of creation, meaning we get to go into a space and create something new that's never been done before. So there's unfoldment, and then there's creation. That's creativity, something new. And everyone has this capacity. If they're willing to go into the inner closet on a regular basis, if they're willing to talk to themselves properly, their inner talk becomes affirmative and loving. Their stillness becomes curated to a deep introspection that leads to a transpection. If someone does the inner work, it doesn't matter what has happened to them. I mean, you use Reverend Ike as the example. Dirt, poor, poverty. Nothing. No 2 pennies to touch each other. Nothing. But out of nothing, that great palace in New York. Out of nothing, Rolls Royce. Out of nothing, harmonizing prosperity. Out of nothing, millions of students around the world, you see. And so I keep bringing us back to this point. Every single being on this planet has something within them. I can say this to those who are listening. There's something within you that's great and magnificent. Something within you that's beautiful. Something with you that is unlike any other being, because you are a unique expression of infinite potential. And if you will do the inner work, at Agape, we used to have a t-shirt that said, do the work. You do the inner work. I'm telling you, by law and love and law go hand in hand. The love is the total outpouring without any withhold. And the law is when we come into alignment with it, something has to happen, and it will. That's a guarantee. It will. Yeah.
Wow. At one level, I want to continue. At another level, we're basically here. So what is the address of Agape so everyone could go, and how do you invite them? And I'll tell you everybody where you are on YouTube too.
Absolutely. If
And
they
you're-
go to agapelive.com, AGAPELIVE, if you're out of the Los Angeles area, all of my services are live streamed. My 6:45 meditation service, my 9 o'clock service, my 11:30 a.m. service, all Pacific time. You can watch it live, or you can go into the archives and watch the previous talks as well. We have obviously a Facebook presence. You can watch it on Facebook. We have a YouTube presence, Agape, as well as Michael Beckwith. The services are there live, and of course, they're curated there as well. You can go to my Instagram page because I do inspirational information there every single day. You can go to my personal website, which is michaelbeckwith.com. Now, right now, we're meeting in a 1,900 seat theater called the Saban Theater, which is right here on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly, just east of La Cienega Boulevard. And so if you go to agapelive.com, you'll get all of the address and how to come, and people from all over. People make Agape a destination point, meaning people will curate their business plans or their vacations to make sure they stay over a Sunday so they can actually come in person and feel the energy of what they're seeing online or on YouTube or on Facebook. Mm-hmm.
And what about the books? How many books have you got out now?
1, 2. I probably got about 7 or 8 books, and I got 2 more coming out. They can also, Mark, go to my podcast that you were just on. It's called Take Back Your Mind, and you can tune into the interview that Mark and I did with Reverend Ike's son. And so you go back to Take Back Your Mind, and there's a number of episodes there. Make sure you subscribe and give me a 5 rating.
So talk about one more thing, and that is, what does the future look like for Michael Beckwith in this movement?
There's a couple of things going on. One, I'm being called into the world more, into other countries, traveling. Obviously, that was curtailed a little bit when we had the lockdown of Healthy People a little while ago. So that's like picking up really big time. And we're purchasing some property to do some powerful community work. We want to bring young people and people that are being turned out of the foster care homes and things like that. We want to give them these principles so that they can come to an understanding it's not what's happened to them, that they can, like Reverend Ike, like all of us, have risen up to become who and what we're meant to be. And I want to teach them the difference between what you should be and what you're meant to be. What you should be comes from society. What you're meant to be comes from God within. So we're in the process of doing that so we can have a strong presence in the world doing powerful work. And something that you agreed to many years ago, I don't know if you still are interested. We're gonna get another building and build a nice sanctuary and a nice place for us to be, a legacy building. So that's up right now as well. Mark, I've never had an edifice complex. My thing was about building community. So today we are probably the most diverse and inclusive community in the United States. It's very powerful. Now we're going to clothe it. Now we're going to give it clothes, permanent clothes. So that's what's up.
It's just a blessing to have you as a great friend and spiritual mentor, teacher, and enlightener of the way, and a guy that is, ladies and gentlemen, I watch a lot of pastors, ministers, and people of the cloth, and this guy has clean integrity and stays on the path. And all of us get veered off a little bit, but this guy stays linearly on the program.
Mark, I love what I get to do. I feel every time I speak, it's always like the first time, Mark.
Me too.
You know that feeling. This is the first time. And I don't feel entitled. I feel privileged that I have the opportunity to speak truth into people and to watch their lives change. It's a privilege for me to surrender to the presence and allow the presence for little Michael to go into a disappearing act, and for the presence to reveal itself as inspiration and love. Yeah.
What a magnificent way to end. Thank you, my dear friend, Dr. Michael Beckwith, for sharing so deeply, profoundly, and enlighteningly from your heart and soul.
And thank you, Mark, and thank you for bringing Reverend Ike alive again. There's a whole generation of people that need to hear this message, to read that book, and to see that he was a pioneer. You know, when we talk about The Secret, we talk about a lot of the movies we've been in, Reverend Ike was a pioneer. And he was vilified because he was telling people, you know, these are the real teachings of Jesus. You know what I mean? Believe it, you know, ask and ye shall receive. And he was way in the dynamic of making sure that all of your needs were met financially, but also health-wise, you know? So thank you for bringing him alive again. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, he and I, like you and I, were close, dear friends. I mean, you know, we all came in with this destiny code. And I think everybody out there listening, I'm going to hold up a mirror and let you look in it, ladies and gentlemen, that you've got your own destiny code now. Obviously, Michael's in his, and I've obviously, you know, sold over 500 million books en route to 1 billion, which was, Michael was one of the few guys that didn't laugh when I said, I'm going to sell 1 billion books, because all those guys in New York who you've been with, who thought 8 books that you published, you know that they are a little critical, a little hypercritical. How's that? You go, get out of here. You can't do that. Well, I've done it. But
they told me I couldn't do Agape. Listen, when I started Agape, when I got the vision for it, I got a vision, and I went. I was at that particular time, Mark. I was running. I was the training director of the World Ministry of Prayer, and I caught this vision to start this community after I gave up my resistance. And I went back and told the director, you know, I'm going to train the person. And I'm not going to leave this job a day before the people around me are trained to do what I do. And then I'm called to start a community. And they said, where? I said, they told me to start it in Santa Monica. And she looked at me and she said, why don't you start a community for your own people? And I said, short people? And she turned red and she said, no, I didn't mean anything by that. And I said, it's okay. God bless you. But I've been guided to start in Santa Monica. And even a lot of people said, you can't, it's not going to work. You know, you're an African-American man. You can't go to a beach community. And, you know, throngs came. Black, white, straight, gay, everybody's in the room. You know what I mean? So what they said couldn't be done has been done, you know.
And the finest hour is in front of you, as far as I can see and predict. And the world could not need it more, because we need to do the integration of 8 billion people where we have diversity of and loving acceptance, and we're not stuck in any little identity. I'm tall, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm black, I'm white, I'm red, I'm yellow, or whatever. And, right. And we just all learn to get along, which is what the golden rule is about. Do unto others, not blow the hell out of each other.
Absolutely. I say people are either evolved or uninvolved. I don't get into good and evil. The person is either evolved or unevolved. You know, it's like if you have a baby that's pooping in their pants, that's not evil. They just haven't evolved to the point where they can hold their stuff. You know what I mean? So there are people that are warmongers. They're unevolved. You know, they're just unevolved. And then there are people who are peacemakers and peacekeepers. They're more evolved. They're the more evolved people on the planet.
What are the 3 best things everyone can do to become more evolved, Michael?
Well, you said one of them is that you have to be pulled by a vision. You have to actually, and then you have to realize that the most dangerous people on the planet are people who live without vision and purpose. So you make sure you're not with any of those people. So you have to have a vision. You have to surround yourself with people who are also pulled by a vision. And then on a daily basis, you have to do some kind of inner work that keeps you from the downward spiral of the collective belief of separation, fear, doubt, worry, and not enoughness. So if you do your inner work, surround yourself, and that could be a mastermind, that could be 2 or more gathered, surround yourself with somebody and actually articulate and be pulled by a vision that's bigger than who you are at this moment.
I love it. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people are controlled by sadness and fear and anger, and that is de-evolving, whatever the right word there is.
Right.
And you and I are about to say, how do we get people to evolve? So the last question, and you've been so generous with your time and your thinking and your wisdom. Do people have an intrinsic need to evolve? I think they do. Do they, sir?
There's a built-in intentionality. Just as an apple tree has an intentionality to produce apples. It's built-in intentionality. We all have a built-in intentionality. It gets covered up by society. It can get covered up by the news, which I call the olds. It can get covered up by parental fantasies, However, it's still there. And so that happens, it gets unlocked either through crisis or through insight. Some people grow through pain. Some people grow through insight. Either way, you're going to eventually come through this door, you see? So yeah, I do agree that we have a built-in intentionality that each being on the planet has that. And if that being, now here's something that Emerson said, I love. He said that we're all endogenous beings. We know what indigenous means. If a palm tree is indigenous to warm weather, it's not going to flourish in Antarctica. Then so we know indigenous, is based on environment. And endogenous means I create my own environment. We're all endogenous beings. So we are all we all create our own environment. So that means when I do the inner work, when you are doing your inner work, you're creating the condition for that which is already within you to come forward. You are simultaneously the seed idea and the condition. So that's the built-in intentionality is already there. But many people's condition, Mark, as you said, it's fear, it's anger, it's worry. You have to change that condition so that the built-in seed can emerge. Yeah.
Michael, multiply blessings. Thank you for sharing with us. You're a love. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
God bless you, Mark.
I said today that I would be giving you the formula for prosperity and happiness, and I'm just going to give it to you in parts. One of the things that you have to do if you want to prosper is come to that point in your life where you make up your mind that prosperity is for you personally. Write that in your hearts, write it on paper if you have it, because I'm not going to preach too much of a formal sermon. I'm going to give you parts of this success philosophy as I go along. You must come to a point of decision if you want to prosper. Come to a point of decision that prosperity is for me. A part of the formula of prosperity is to make a decision to prosper. Say with me right now these words. I decide right now that prosperity is for me. Personally. Now that's a part of the formula of prosperity. Decide to prosper. So say again with me, I decide to prosper. You've got to make a decision. We're talking about success and prosperity. So what is prosperity? Prosperity is having success and plenty of what you need and want. I want to say that again. Prosperity is having success and plenty of what you need and want. I'm going to say it again and have you repeat it after me. Prosperity is having success, and plenty of what you need and want. Now, does that sound like prosperity? Now, I want to share with you my definition of happiness. To me, happiness is enjoying the joy of living. So say with me, enjoying the joy of living. Happiness is also loving and being loved. Say with me, loving and being loved. Ladies and gentlemen, God has always had instructions for the prosperity of his people. And I want to read to you some of these expressions from the Holy Bible, from 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter and the 20th verse, and repeat it after me. Believe in the Lord your God. So shall you be established. Believe his prophets. So shall you prosper. I'm reading these scriptures because it may surprise some people to know that God is interested in your prosperity. Some people, you know, have made some kind of vow of poverty. Some people say, well, maybe if I prosper too much, I won't love the Lord. I don't know about you, but I can love the Lord a lot better when I have money to pay my bills and meet my needs.
Woe to wow with both Dr. Michael Beckwith and Dr. Reverend Ike.
We are just blown away by that, as I know you guys are. And I want to invite each of you right now as carriers of the light. You know, Michael Beckwith talked about how we all create our circumstances. And truly together, we are creating the world in a very real way. So let's commit to inviting at least 10 people each to this Prosperity Summit. We will have the replays on there because it will change lives, you guys. This is how we change the world, because we are the world. We create the world and we create it together collectively. So hopefully we can each do that, bring as many people to this work. And the more we do that, the more we see the world change for the better and come to this place of creative peace and prosperity and harmony, and stop the crazy division that's always being thrust upon us by media and politics and all the outside forces. We can change all of that by coming together as one and sharing the good news. So thank you for sharing that. And up next, we have the wonderful, gentle, amazing Kristen Butler, who wanted to share her own message of positivity. And we think you'll really love hearing about Kristen's story. So here we go.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prosperity Summit. And our next guest is a very good friend of mine, and I cannot wait for you all to meet her. This is Kristen Butler. She is a best-selling author. She is the CEO of The Power of Positivity, which I'm sure many of you have followed for years. They have over 50 million followers on social media. She is a leader. She's a writer. She's a mom. She's a visionary in personal development. And I'm really proud to say that I can also call her a friend of mine. And without further ado, let me introduce you to Kristen Butler. Come on up here, Kristen. We're so happy to have you at the Prosperity Summit.
Hello, Cliona. Hello, everyone. I am just so grateful to be here. So thank you for that beautiful introduction.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. It's so good to have you here. I know me and you talk quite often, and we're always updating each other on what we're working on. And I've just seen such an incredible growth for you over the last the last year, 2 years, it's been exponential growth. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what you've been up to in the last year or so?
Wow, in the last 2 years, I have really up-leveled my self-image. And so when we started working together a few years ago, um, some of the things that I thought were just part of my personality were actually limiting beliefs that I was holding about myself. And when I started going within and really dissecting them and not labeling them as part of who I was, but just a limiting belief. And then when I started changing those beliefs, everything started changing. Specifically, like being here at this summit and public speaking, like we did all kinds of work around that. And it's just so amazing how much your life can change when you change your belief systems.
It's so true. It's so true. You're a different woman. And actually, Dr. Joe Vitale yesterday was talking about exactly the same thing, not identifying with those beliefs anymore and doing the work. And you've done the work. You've done an incredible job. And your results are showing us. The results always tell the truth, right?
Yeah, I mean, this past year, I published 2 books with a publisher with Hay House, and then I spoke on several stages. And so I'm doing things that I just only dreamed of, right?
Absolutely. Yes. It's incredible to watch. And so this summit, Kristen, is all about prosperity. It's all about how to sow and reap abundance. So what does that mean to you? What does sowing and reaping abundance mean to you, or prosperity?
Wow, that's a really great question. What we give is what we give back. And so when we live our life in service and in giving to others, it's going to just naturally come back. So to me, prosperity is living a life of freedom, feeling good when you wake up in the morning and happy about what you're doing, living with a purpose. And yes, also being financially free so that you can have that freedom. God wants us to be financially free so that we can take care of ourselves and truly enjoy this world. And so prosperity and a positive attitude really go hand in hand in my belief.
Yeah. And you're talking about sewing. I mean, you sew in such a big way, more than many people I've ever met, even in the industry. You sew a lot. And even before the last 2 years, you were kind of behind the scenes building this beautiful business, the power of positivity. Can you tell everybody a little bit about the power of positivity? When did it start? How long have you been going? A little bit more information. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's been almost 15 years, and we counted it this year. It's like over 30,000 pieces of content individually through videos and, quote memes. And so it's a lot of dedication and consistency. But when you have a passion and you wake up every day with purpose, it doesn't necessarily feel like work because you're helping people, and it just is this beautiful positive ripple effect. And so to me, living a positive lifestyle is having not only a positive mindset, but positive habits. So in everything you do, you're spreading positivity for yourself and for others.
Mm. Wow. That's exactly what you're doing. And every time I see you, I feel it. It's
Thank
so
you.
good. That's incredible. Over 30,000 pieces of content. So if you think
Yeah.
about it, those are all the seeds that you've planted out into the universe. And obviously it's coming back in a beautiful way, and you're getting to grow and serve in an even bigger way now.
I love
Right.
that you said planting seeds, because I'm going to be talking about what seeds are you planting. So I love that. So
Oh, okay.
important, though. Yeah, totally.
Well, I'm looking forward to hear your presentation. I know you have 7 keys to attracting positivity and prosperity into your life. You have something prepared for us. And so I'm just going to pass it right to you. And I'm so grateful that you're here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Cliona. I appreciate that. And I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cliona. It's just such a pleasure to be here. And I'm grateful that you all are joining me right now because it takes commitment to want to change your life. And so I want you to really kind of pat yourself on the back for even being here because this takes courage to do it. So today I'm going to dive deep into how you can become a magnet for positivity and prosperity because I believe that both of these work together to beautifully sow and reap abundance. And I want you to listen really closely and feel free to take notes or photos of these slides that I'm going to be presenting today because this just doesn't happen overnight. Consistency and repetition are the key here. And when most positive people maybe seem like they had it lucky and just everything always works out for them, it's not really true. There's a system, and the people that I know that are so successful are living this system, and it's a life full of prosperity. So let's talk about that and dive into these 7 keys. But first, I just want to give you a quick background on me. I'm so grateful that Cliona shared a little about me. I am the CEO of Power of Positivity, and I did found that over 14 years ago. We have over 50 million followers globally. I'm also an author, a speaker, a proud mom. I'm living in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina with my family, and my little Labradoodle Benson, he's 4 years old. He's the joy of our life. And so this year has just really been a very blessed year. I've been featured in local and national media, online, on TV. And so it's been a really fun year, very successful, but to be honest, it hasn't always been like this. So let's go back to 2007, where at that time, I felt insignificant, like God had forgotten me. You know, I'm 23, I'm depressed, I'm obese, I'm bankrupt, I'm completely lost. And at this time, I had a successful eBay store, and eBay completely shut it down. I was a power seller. I was getting hundreds of orders a week, and I couldn't keep up with the orders anymore, and they completely shut it down. And at that time, I thought I ruined another thing. At that same time, my doctors told me, you're so unhealthy that you're never going to have children. And here I had put so much energy into being successful, and I failed. I was so broken. You know, for 2 weeks, I laid in bed, drowning in negative emotions. I had worked so hard, and I failed again. I gave it my everything. And at that point, you know, I didn't even want to live anymore. And that's a really tough place to be in. I was just in bed, drowning in negative emotions. And this was my rock bottom. And it wasn't much better than before that. I actually was trying so hard to change my life. I grew up poor in Pennsylvania. My mom was on welfare with 4 children. And so, you know, I was teased, I was bullied, everything that comes with that. Even my teachers were discouraging. I remember in the photo you see this little mock book of Abraham Lincoln. I really cherished that book. I loved it. I put so much effort into it. I felt so inspired when I was doing it, and it felt so natural to me. And I went up to my 3rd grade teacher and I said to her, you know, I'm going to be a real author one day. And I remember her looking at me with this really negative face. And she said, Kristen, you struggle with reading and writing in my class. You're never going to write a book. So my childhood was just full of challenges. And I'm not sharing this with you, you know, for pity. It's because I want you to know that I wasn't dealt this lucky hand that some people might assume. When you look at someone successful, you think, oh man, they're just lucky. It's just something, maybe they grew up in a better circumstance, but that's not true. So when I hit rock bottom in 2007, I was completely hopeless. Every area of my life was falling apart. And I'm at that point where it was like, Kristen, you should just give up. So it was either give up or try something new, right? And that's when I decided I have to try something new. And so I started prioritizing things that felt good, things that felt safe. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but things that were positive, gratitude, self-care, and some of the key principles that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overstressed and overwhelmed in any area of your life, I want you to know that you're in the right place right now because I've been there and I know that there's a way out. So I'm going to be sharing these key habits that I adopted that started to allow me to be a magnet for positivity and prosperity. And they literally transformed every area of my life. And so today I live in my dream house that I built a few years ago in a place that I intentionally attracted. Has amazing mountain views. It's everything that I wanted. I have 2 daughters. When I was told that, hey, you're never going to have children. I have a job that I love and have been doing it for so long. It's a success. I have a family that I adore, friendships that I've only dreamed of. And so none of this happened by luck or accident. That's why I'm sharing it. There are key things that I did, and we're going to dive into each one of them today. So the first one is, of course, right, a positive attitude and lifestyle. Because to me, positivity is not just about your thoughts. It's about action. It's about aligning with a positive mental attitude and then aligning your habits with that attitude. It's about, intentionally creating a positive lifestyle. So I want to ask you something right now. If you could think of your thoughts like seeds, how many positive seeds do you think that you're planting every day? Think about it. So every time you choose to focus on gratitude instead of worry or the things that are going wrong, you win. Every time you pause a negative thought that you're having and you pivot it to a positive one, you win. That's another seed that you're planting. Every time you smile or compliment someone or even do a random act of kindness or charity, you're winning. You're planting these positive seeds. Every time you work out, every time you drink water, it's the little things and it's the big things. So if you want to reap positivity and prosperity, you have to sow it, right? And I love how science is catching up with this. There's so much research on that positive feedback loop that we can create, right? That you can do all throughout the day. And it adds up. Every single thought, every single action, it adds up. And you can make a bigger and bigger impact. And another thing that I love is that positivity has a bigger impact than negativity. And so you don't have to be hard on yourself if you're not having a great day or you haven't been thinking right. Because as soon as you make that switch, that pivot, you're creating bigger momentum. And so it just really works, but it does take practice and patience. My whole life's work revolves around this single thing, is positivity. I could go on, but let's get to the second one. The second one is intentional gratitude. And gratitude could easily, truly be first. It's truly the most important sometimes because it's so effective, but it's so easy to do, right? Especially if we get in the habit of it. Gratitude changed every area of my life. And it was the first thing that I did when I was in bed at rock bottom. I was grateful that I had a bed to sleep on. I was grateful that I had a roof over my head. And this doesn't cost any money to do. It doesn't, take much time. It can be so transformative. That's why so many people talk about it. If you really want to fast track to prosperity, then you want to spend as much time as you possibly can in gratitude. Napoleon Hill's work, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about gratitude and how important it is. And even the amazing Wallace Wattles, right? He talks in the Science of Getting Rich, he talks about how an attitude of gratitude is really the key of the way of increase. And even in the Bible, right? They talk about being thankful. And so to me, gratitude's almost like a prayer. When you're doing it all day long, you're like living in prayer. You're having this full faith and trust. And so to me, living and savoring gratitude all throughout the day is just a way of life for me. I'm embodying it. I'm savoring the things that are going right. And so I continue to just live in this feedback loop that is available to anyone. It's available to you. You just have to make a choice to start feeling more grateful, and it'll start to work. If you're feeling stuck right now, even at all, just add more gratitude around the areas that you're feeling stuck. Make it consistent. Be intentional. Write it down. You can write down a list of 10 things in the morning and 10 things at night. And if you really feel stuck, write down 100 things. It's that effective. It's that effective. It'll just become a part of you. It'll be eventually like you're on autopilot, like gratitude autopilot, right? That sounds so cool, but it's true. It really does become that when you embrace it. So the third one is align with your purpose. So when your actions align with your purpose, you become a beacon, attracting prosperity. You're attracting the prosperity that is meant for you. You're claiming it. You're stepping into it, right? Because when you don't live in your purpose, you're actually living under your potential, right? And that's what's blocking prosperity, when you're living under your potential. It limits the abundance. And so when you're feeling stuck, you're not feeling settled because you're not claiming why you're here. It's what I truly believe. We all have a purpose, and that purpose can change, but we need to live every day with a purpose. You don't want to settle. God and universal expression, universal intelligence can be a fuller expression through you when you're living your purpose. Truly, I believe that. And so we all have a big main purpose, but then we have many, many other little purposes, and that can change from day to day or year to year, depending on what we choose. But as long as we're working towards something and waking up with a purpose, it's going to instantly bring prosperity to us because we're living in service. And when we live in service, whether we're being a stay-at-home mom, right, or we're working, or we could be running a business, or we could be working for someone else, whatever that is, we're all different, right? But we have to claim that purpose, and we have to rise. We have to rise to why we're here and then live and take action in that direction. When we align with that energy, that's when we're aligning with prosperity. We're being obedient to God, right? And that's why when we continue to be obedient and consistent, we can feel like prosperity is just flooding in. And it can happen in a short time. Truly, it really can. When you're a vessel to a fuller expression of yourself. The fourth key to positivity and prosperity, in my opinion, is kindness and generosity. And simply put, this is just giving. To me, giving is the new getting. And I actually want you to write that down. Giving is the new getting. It's so important because if you want more, you have to give more. It's just how it works. And not with this expectation, right, that you're going to get something back just because it's who you are. And giving in a sense of your time, your energy, your skills doesn't necessarily have to be money. And while that's included, is to give financially to others, but the goal is really to give more than you receive. It's about energy exchange. When you can exchange and give more energy than you take, you're always going to feel abundant. It's just the law. It's the law of giving and receiving, the law of reciprocity. What you give is what you get back. And it's an important part behind prosperity, right? And the energy of why you're giving is so important. So let's talk about that. Is it positive? Are you doing it with good intention? Is it something that you want to do, or is it something that you think you should do? This is all very important because life is constantly working on this exchange. That's just how this reality was created. And so you're being mirrored back what you're giving. It doesn't always feel like that. Sometimes it doesn't seem like the exact same. Often people will say, why give and I don't get back? It's going to come back in a different form. And if you feel stuck in this area, look at your intentions, okay? Because prosperity is meant to circulate. And if you're not circulating it, then you're not going to receive it. And when you circulate it, you have to do it with unquestionable faith, because otherwise you're going to block yourself, right? If you don't have faith and you don't have a generous intention, it's not going to work. That's the pivotal part. So the fifth key, and probably one of the most fun on the list besides living it, is visualizing success, or, just dreaming, right? This isn't something that we just do as children. Whatever we want, we must first believe that we have it in our mind. We have to see it clearly. And I love how neuroscience is even revealing that once we have that picture painted in our mind and we hold it, the brain actually starts looking for evidence of it in our reality. So this isn't something that's just woo, right? This is science-backed. And I can say for myself that I've used visualizing to transform every single area of my life. Everything that I have right now and where I am, I've visualized it. In fact, I can't even think of something right now that I have that I didn't think about first or spend a lot of time visualizing. This works both ways, right? If you want good or bad. So that's why sometimes we get the bad, because we're thinking about it and we're visualizing it. So we have to be very careful about what we're visualizing and what we're meditating on. Are we meditating on success and visualizing success for ourselves? Or are we prophesizing through worry something bad? So we want to take the opportunity and spend time on what we want to see. The mind's always working. Give it what you want it to work on. Picture your success vividly. See very specific things. See colors. See anything that feels good. Don't be afraid to think big. I love thinking big, but it does take time. It takes practice. But there's no shame in it. And if you want to visualize big. I love the quote, shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you land among the stars. Because when you think big, You don't always get exactly what you're thinking. Hey, that's forcing in a way, right? But you always land somewhere in there. And you always usually land higher, much higher than where you were. And so if we paint that picture in our mind and we believe it 100% with 100% faith, then it can happen. I think it's really, almost a twofold here. There's two really key parts to visualizing success. And I could talk about this for days. I love visualizing. But if I had to narrow it down to two things, I would say that it's important to feel it as if it's already happening, right? And to be consistent. A lot of times people think, I'm just going to think about it a little bit or once in a while. No, it has to be consistent. That is key there for sure. Number 6 is take inspired action. Action ignites attraction. Think about it. Through action, we can become a living magnet. Action is even in the law of attraction. So we have to take time into action. There's a lot of mental work, right? The mental work is the foundation that we lay down, but we lay it down so that we can take the right inspired action. And what I mean by inspired action is action that feels good. It aligns with who you are, your purpose, and where you want to go. It's literally like inside, if I could explain it, like the big yes inside that just intuitively feels good. Yes, it might feel unfamiliar. Yes, you might have some fears. Yes, it might feel a little uncomfortable, but that's growth. That's natural. And in fact, it's something that if you've never done before, it's going to feel like that. But you're going to feel inspired. And that's the key here, not forced, inspired. You might potentially feel a little nervous taking this action, but that's when you know it's the right path. You can harness that anxiety into excitement. And you can tell yourself, I'm excited. I'm not nervous. I'm excited. This is something new. And science even tells us that it's literally the same chemical reaction in our body. So it really depends on the label that we are personally giving it. And so when we label something as excitement, it can help when we're taking inspired action. You don't have to, have it all figured out or feel 100% ready. And oftentimes you don't. But it is important to have that bridge, to feel inspired, to know it's in the direction of where you're going. It's in the direction of your purpose. And so you can acclimate to anything, truly. The key here that I've found and that I love is that over time, every action just feels like the natural next step. Like walking down a path. You don't think of the next step. There could be rocks on your path and you're not thinking about it because you've walked so many times and you trust the ground, you trust your own legs, and you just keep walking. So over time, as you're doing this work, that's the goal, to make it just feel like that next best step. And the cool part here is momentum. I love momentum. When you start taking action and taking more action and creating that kind of feedback loop, you're just going to start getting faster results. And especially in regards to prosperity and abundance, it's just going to start flooding in. The more aligned and the more inspired you are, the more inspired action you're going to take. You're just going to keep going because it's this cool ripple effect and this cool flow that you're just kind of riding. And this is the kind of stuff that gets you excited about your goals, is to get into this kind of energy where you're trusting the process and there's no more resistance. There's more resistance when you don't take action. And that's when we get stuck. We think that there's more resistance on the other side, but that's not true. It's truly it's a false belief. It's a fear that we have. So number 7 is the final one, and that is consistency. And to me, and you can write this down. I really love this. Consistency is the silent force of success. It turns intentions into achievements. If I could say, what is that driving force behind my success? And as I was talking to Cliona about building my brand, it was consistency. On the bad days, on the good days, on any day, it's showing up. And if you really want more, if you want more prosperity, this is the key: consistent action. Doing it allows you to be very intentional about your life and your time, because then you build these consistent routines that align with where you are and where you want to go and who you want to be. And consistency is not something big. It starts with the small things that you do every single day. So it's important that you keep those small things every day as positive as you can. Picking up that glass of water more often, right? Taking out time for self-care, investing energy into the pursuit of a business that you want to start, or, really anything. You have to be consistent with it. Think of it like, daily deposits that compound over time and then give you this significant return, right? It takes time and patience. And when we know that, and when we can trust in that, we're going to see that prosperity. We're going to see the abundance. We're going to see it through. And this goes for consistency in our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions. When we consistently choose positive thoughts, we're shaping the outlook of the way we see life. We're attracting more positivity. We're opening the floodgates to prosperity because we're rewiring our minds, like we were talking about, right? Consistency is almost like the glue that holds all of these keys together, and that's why it's last. And when you're consistent, you're going to attract more prosperity. Consistent doing the right things. We can't force life, but we can learn to flow with it in a better way. So that's the 7 keys. And I want to end this just with one more thing. I want you to know that the real power lies not in just the knowledge that has been shared here, but in the actions that you take from this moment forward. How will you apply these 7 keys? How will your habits change? Where will you start? These are really important questions that I want you to take with you because, although this is fun and I love that you're here, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to change your life. And so when you learn this, that's amazing. But I want you to apply what you learn. That's when you regain power over your own life and you start claiming all that you were here to be, all of that prosperity that is yours. It's within you, truly. You can be a magnet to this life that you desire. Believe it. So I appreciate being here today. And again, my wish is that you know who you are, you own it, and you start sharing it with the world because you're a gift, you're a light. Just keep moving forward in this energy. All these days, these teachers that you've been learning from, take this energy with you, embody it, stay positive, take action, and you will live your best life. Thank you so much.
Wow. Kristen, this has been incredible. The 7 keys. I know that right now you have weaved together. I don't know how you did it, but it was probably intuitive, but you've weaved together the teachings of almost all of our presenters so far. And put it into 7 7 keys that can be applied. It's incredible. And I want to go back to one thing you pointed out many times in the 7 keys, which is the word action. Action is actually in Think and Grow Rich 77 times.
Wow. I love that. Oh my goodness. 77.
Yes.
It's so important.
It is. We can apply, we can have positive thinking. And I was talking to some of our coaches yesterday about this. We were studying together, and the currency of thought, the value of thought energy is the most valuable, potent power in the world. It's thought energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't take action, then we're just sitting back hoping to. It's a little bit delusional sometimes. We're not moving into action. So thank you for pointing that out and reminding everyone how important action is as well. And can you tell everyone, I know you wrote a book recently, and I would love for our viewers to see and learn a little bit more about your book. Can you tell them where can they get it? What is it about?
I love that. So yeah, this year I came out with 2 books. So I have one that's a journal that lets you create a routine in the morning and the evening, a positive routine. It only takes 3 minutes a day. And so gratitude is in there, affirmations, self-care, all of that. But my main book, almost like my baby that's taken me several years to write, is called The Comfort Zone. And it's a different approach to the current comfort zone theory, but it's how I healed, it's how I transformed, and it's how I created the power of positivity by expanding my comfort zone. So the key is to get comfortable with more in life. And when we're comfortable with more, we can do anything. And so our comfort zones don't have to be small and static. They can be big as we want them to be. And so that's my goal in life, is to make my comfort zone as big as I want it to be. So I can take it everywhere I'm going. I can be comfortable with whatever I'm doing. And this really helps people who feel stuck. Maybe they feel anxious or depressed. And I believe it's really about going within and knowing what you're most comfortable with and starting there and then expanding from that place.
Yes. Your story is so inspiring. I just, like, some of those pictures I had never seen before. And I look at you today, I'm like, this is proof, everyone. She is proof. You are proof, Kristen, of what's possible, And you just gave us the playbook of the 7 keys. And I want everyone to look up your book, The Comfort Zone, and make sure you get a copy. But Kristen will be back here more often. I know she will. You'll come back and visit us, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely, Cliona. I love this. This was so fun. And I love Napoleon Hill's work, and it's been so impactful on me. And so this was just a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you from all of us here, Kristen. We're so grateful. We're going to practice intentional gratitude. I took notes. And we're going to practice what you taught us today. Thank you from my heart, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we did it.
Observe the flow of a river. Over time, as it encounters obstacles and contours in the landscape, it makes decisions on which path to take. Similarly, humans navigate life's journey. Some crossroads are simple, like deciding what to eat for breakfast. Others are monumental, like choosing a career path or a life partner. Reflect on your own journey, and you'll likely see a series of these crossroad moments, decisions that led you to where you are today. Just as a river's path is influenced by the landscape, our decisions are influenced by our circumstances, values, and goals. At its core, decisiveness is the art of bridging intentions with actions. It's the force that propels us from contemplation to execution, from passive observers to active participants in our life. By embracing the power of decision, we no longer drift aimlessly, but rather we chart our course deliberately. Each decision molds the sculpture of our character and forges our trajectory. We transform abstract possibilities into vivid experience, dreams into realities.
Just a few minutes before we leave this service, I want to have with you, as I said before, the visualization prayer treatment to help you receive the good that you desire, the good that you need. And I'm even going to make a dare. I dare you in this closing prayer, in this closing visualization treatment, to have right at the top of your mind some good that you desire, something good that you want to happen, something good that you want to receive, something good that you want to do. I dare you to have it at the top of your mind just before we leave in a few minutes and have this visualization prayer treatment. Let's pray now before we go home. Now, this is going to be a different kind of prayer. Stretch your legs out. Whatever good you desire, get it at the very top of your mind, at the very top of your heart right now, and think about it. Lean back, get as comfortable as you can. We're not going to pray hard, we're going to pray easy. The reason some of you don't get your prayers answered is because you pray too hard. Please, Jesus. Oh, Lord. We're going to pray easy, and we're going to get results. Now, as you lean back, I want you to tilt your chin slightly upward, because the Bible says, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. Now close your two outer eyes and open that one inner eye of faith and repeat this visualization prayer with me. I now enter into my secret closet and I shut the door. I shut out doubt and fear, and I shut in with faith and love. I enter into the theater of my mind, and I look upon the stage of my imagination, and I see myself. I see myself as I wish to be. I see myself being what I want to be. And I see myself doing what I want to do. I see it. I feel it. It is wonderful. Thank you, God, in me. I see myself as a healthy person. Everything that is not healthy has dropped away from me. Thank you, God, in me. I see myself as a loving person. I see myself loving and being loved in divine order. The love of God in my heart brings all of the right people into my life for every right purpose. And the wrong people can't come near me because I am enfolded by the love of God. Thank you, God, in me. I see myself as a successful person. I see myself moving from success to success. I see myself as a prosperous person. I see myself moving from prosperity to prosperity. Thank you, God, in me. I see myself having more money than I've ever had in my life. Thank you, myself enjoying more money more than ever. I do not serve money. Money serves me. Money loves me. Money loves to fill my hands and pockets. Money loves to fill my bank accounts. I see myself having money making money. Money making money. It feels wonderful. I do right about money. And God blesses me with money. Thank you, God, in me. So it is. It cannot be otherwise. And I rejoice because of it. Open your eyes slowly. Ladies and gentlemen, before you go to sleep at night, do as I have just taught you to do. Close your eyes and see yourself as you wish to be. And repeat these affirmations, seeing and feeling yourself being, doing, and having the good that you desire. Let us stand for the benediction. And now the very presence, the very power, the goodness, the courage, the healing, the blessing, all of the unlimited good that God is, go with you, above you and beneath you, around you, behind you, within you and before you, and make smooth, beautiful, and perfect your way. Amen.
Oh, wow.
I can see why I loved attending 7 years in a row. Whenever I was in New York on a Sunday, I was at those services, being uplifted, exalted, illuminated, taken on a mental chariot ride into a more wondrous, blissful future.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. I think we have a little connection issue. I think so much frequency and power has maybe interrupted the Mark and Crystal's internet, but that's okay. We can just take a moment here and stay on this frequency. My God, how powerful was that? How powerful was that? I hope you felt what I just felt. And I hope it touched your heart deeply, just like it touched my heart deeply. We have something very special for you. You know, this is the last day of the summit. We're not going to say goodbye yet. We have something very powerful. We have a special surprise guest coming on here in a moment. And we want to gift you. This week, you've heard a lot about service. You've heard a lot about sowing seeds of service. What you put out is what you get back, my friends, including your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You've heard a lot about action. You've heard a lot about decision. You've heard a lot about persistence and faith. And there's a common thread here it's wove through every speaker, sharing with you their wisdom of how they did it. How did they transform their lives? And you know, it's available to all of us. It's truly available to all of us. If I can come here from Northern Ireland, little girl from Northern Ireland, little dreamer from nothing, to sit up here on this stage with the likes of Mark and Xavier and Michael Beckwith, I mean, I must have done something right. You know what I did? I followed the principles. I followed the principles to a T. I became coachable. First of all, I had to admit my way wasn't working. My way wasn't working. You know how I know? My results told me the truth. And your results in your life, whether it's financially, whether it's love, health, you name it, spiritually, the results in your life always tell the truth. We have hundreds of coaches here at the Napoleon Hill Institute, and we study every day. We meet every morning. Many of us get together at 5:30 in the morning and we study together. we meditate together, we pray together, because we're on a mission to transform lives all over the world. We want to impact 8 billion lives, and we're going to need help. We're going to need a lot of help if we're going to reach our goal. And so Mark is frozen here. He's frozen in time and space, and that's okay. We're going to keep going. I believe, Ken, if you're there, you can take a look at that. They're frozen in time, but that's okay. I would love to reach out across the internet right now to all of you from my heart. And I talked to Mark this morning. We've been working behind the scenes. We have something very special we want to give you, all of you. You know, I'm going to keep the replays up. The Institute will keep the replays
Cliona,
up.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You need to refresh your browser. It's your internet. I'm sorry. Refresh and it'll bring you out and come back in. Crystal, are you there?
Hi. Are we still live, Ken?
Yes, we're live. We're live. We just had a little glitch in the matrix. That's okay. Here, hold on. Hold on.
Technology. Mark went to see if it was ours, he went to refresh our internet. So I'm glad we're getting this resolved. Thank you everyone for your patience. We'll get it. Cliona, you're back. And Mark went to refresh ours.
I think it was the power. I think it was the power of the work we were just doing. The frequency was so strong.
Right. It can't handle it. The internet can't even take it, right? Everyone's power is coming together here. It's beautiful.
It's amazing. Were we all frozen, or was it just me? I don't know.
I think you were seeing us as frozen and we were seeing you as frozen. So okay, he's back. We refreshed.
I shut off all the computers
Everybody
other than
refreshed.
this one. Maybe that was causing the interference. Sorry, everybody.
Cliona refreshed hers. So thanks for your patience, guys.
Thank you.
This is the world.
Because we got great stuff for you.
Yeah. You know, Phil Conway said, Cliona, your message was so strong. Now you look so refreshed. Yes. Yes, I was preaching. I went into my preaching. That's what happened.
Preach on, Sister Cliona.
We heard every word of it. I hope everyone did.
I hope so. But I was, honestly, I was speaking from my heart. I was sharing the message of why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Really, truly, I want to bring this message and this truth to the masses. I want to impact billions of lives all over the world, and we can't do it alone. We need help. We need help. And all of you here today, you're here for a reason. And I want to reach out to you. I gave it a lot of thought, and I briefly spoke to Mark this morning and Crystal. We were on a group speaker, and this idea just fell into my mind. I was on the treadmill, because this week we're talking about sowing and reaping. We're giving and giving, and it's the holiday season. And this idea fell into my mind. And what we want to do at the Napoleon Hill Institute, we want to give you something very, very special for the holidays and beyond. We want to help you create your own personal development and prosperity plan for 2024. And we can get started as early as next week. And so I want to go over a few of the packages that we've created. And then we have a special guest that we're going to bring in as well. And so I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to ask Ken to help me out. I had my team working on this right up until I got on here, because we were figuring things out, okay? We literally came up with this idea this morning. I hope you're all ready for this, because I know I'm excited and I'm really proud of our team that we're going to be offering this to you today. All right, let me share my screen. And so what we want you to do, you're going to go to the Prosperity Summit website, okay? And you're going to see something so incredible that we've put together. Let me just go back here. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfectly.
All right. Perfect. Okay. You're going to go to prosperitysummit2023.com, and we've put together 3 marvelous packages for you to continue on this journey with us. Okay. You're going to click on the holiday packages at the top, and this is what we're going to give you. So number 1 holiday package is the prosperity package number 1. We're going to gift you 10 books, the new Reverend Ike book, and you're going to get 10 to share with your friends and your family. And then I'm going to pass it to Mark in a little bit. He's going to introduce a special guest to you to go further into the details of the Reverend Ike training. Very rare recordings and training that some have never been heard before. This is going to be included in package number 1. Napoleon Hill Institute have also decided to gift you in and include the Self-Confidence Camp workshop. We're getting tremendous transformations in 8 weeks. You're going to get live coaching from me, from our certified coaches over an 8-week period. You're going to keep a lifetime recordings. You're going to get a workbook. We're going to tell you what to do step by step. We're going to give you a plan. The second package, we're going to gift you 20 books to give to your friends and your family. It's also going to include this rare training and audio training from Reverend Ike himself. And what I've decided to add to this is what's called the self-discipline camp, as well as the self-confidence camp. If you're up for this and you're serious about a transformation and you want to go into 2024 with a new plan and a new you'll join me and our team at 5:30 in the morning, 6 days a week. And we have camps in every time zone. We have camps in every time zone, so you can join in from wherever you are. Okay, so this is going to be included as well. You're going to have self-discipline camp. If you want a transformation, you'll join us at 5:30 in the morning. And on top of that, we've decided to add 2 months of coaching. You're going to get one-on-one private coaching with one of our certified coaches. You're going to get 4 hot seat coaching calls from me or Gary Chappell, who used to be the CEO of Nightingale Conant. And even to top that off, Mark Victor Hansen has added in his master author training course. Mark, can you tell them a little bit more about it?
I believe every one of you has got a book in you. And what happens is we cover everything you could do to successfully write a book. I'll just do one of the chapters in there, but the first lesson is on interviewing, because what did Dr. Napoleon Hill do? He spent his whole life up until 1936 or 35 interviewing the 500 most important business, successful thought leaders, political leaders, social, spiritual leaders, money makers, and put it together. Well, I've done the same thing even in other industries, like in chiropractic. I interviewed all the guys that made over $1 million, made more $1 million DC doctors of chiropractic, doctors of cause than ever before, because nobody ever did stuff like that. I keep doing that. Every one of you has not a book, but books in you. And this is the course of courses. It's going to take you from wherever you are to wherever you want to be, because a book is going to be your best business card, not maybe. People throw away a business card in a cylindrical can called a garbage can. Nobody throws away a book that you signed to them. And when I was nobody with nothing, the first time I ever showed my little book, Stand Up, Speak On, and Win, 37 people out of 37, now I paid $10 back. Remember this 50 years ago. I signed everyone. I said, I want to sign to you, your wife, your kids, your dog, and your cat if you have one. And they all laughed. And I said, it's not a bestseller. It's not a New York Times bestseller, national bestseller, but it's my bestseller, and I want you to have it. Because I wanted to have it. They did it in that first year. I made $20,000. That today is equivalent of $200,000. No, I sold 20,000 copies at $10 each. That was $200,000 today. That'd be $2 million. Yeah. It is an amazing course that'll take you massively forward, in addition to everything else you're hearing from my colleague and friend, Reverend Ike, and now our special guest, Xavier Ike Encoder, is going to tell you some of the power pack stuff that's in these things in a very abbreviated way. Can we bring Xavier up? Is he with us?
There he is. Welcome, Xavier.
And Xavier's been opening up the Resource
Yes.
Center for Reverend Ike down in the Carolinas.
Oh my
Xavier,
gosh,
say hello to
so
everybody and
excited
tell them
about
what's
that.
in some of these packages, please.
Yes, hello everyone. Blessings, blessings. Happy December and happy closing day of the summit. It's been amazing to see this summit go up
Yeah.
to the vibrational summit of success, prosperity, abundance, joy, and so many wonderful things. And I'm very excited about what we're offering, as Mark and Cliona and Crystal were just saying. We have some never before heard footage from my father that you're going to be getting. Some amazing titles like Decode Your Mind's Power for Success. I mean, earlier you heard Reverend Michael Beckwith, what amazing man, amazing teacher, and just masterful proponent and exponent of consciousness. You heard him say, my father took people from woe to wow. So what we're offering here is material that will help you go from woe to wow. If there are places in your life where you're having woes, we'll take that E off that word and put a W there so it will be wow. This is about the power of alchemical transformation. My dad said, have at the top of your mind, before we went into that visualization, have at the top of your mind something you want. So I'm going to encourage you to take that further with us. Think about something you really want to manifest in your life. And you will be able to take that and go through these wonderful titles like the Wisdom of the Masters series, and use the wisdom of the masters to manifest that good thing that you're keeping at the top of your mind. How to loose your money, not how to lose your money, how to loose. In other words, how to vibrationally send out the signal that's going to be a clarion call for abundance to come to you. I mean, we heard Kristen Butler say today how gratitude magnetizes us for abundance. Well, that's what this is going to do. Loosing your money has to do with getting into a powerful vibration of gratitude. So you become a magnetic attractor par excellence. Divine self-awareness is another title that is in there. I mean, think about that. Divine self-awareness. If we can see ourselves in the image and likeness of God as we were created, and if we can see ourselves the way God sees us, the riches of heaven, the everything is open to us. So that's what we're offering. These wonderful teachings from my father that are really going to help you galvanize all sorts of wonder and beauty and prosperity, and allow you to truly claim your bounty, what's packed in your soul by God, and to inhabit that bounty and bring that bounty forth and impact the world positively, and then see the ripple effect of abundance then come back in you. And it becomes, like my dad used to say, a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. So that's what we're sharing. And this is, I'm so excited. I'm literally buzzing with excitement. I feel like, yeah.
Me too, Xavier. What a blessing. I hope you'll understand what you're getting here. You're going to have a choice to choose from these 3 packages that we've handcrafted for your personal growth to help change your life and get a head start for 2024. And so what we also have included is a third option for any of you that have maybe thought about becoming a coach with the Napoleon Hill Institute. You have a desire to serve and teach this material, and you want to join our global mission, then you'll want to get in touch with us and we will tell you more. There's an application process, of course. You'll own your own agreement, license agreement, to go out and teach Napoleon Hill's principles. We're a beautiful community. Like I said, we study together every day. We practice what we preach. So you'll want to get in touch with us and apply to become a coach as well. If that's calling on your heart and you have a desire to own your own coaching business, get in touch with us as well. What we're going to include for anyone that decides to become a coach with us, we're going to include 50 of your father's book and your book and Mark's book, the Reverend Ike book, as a gift. We're going to give you 50 of those books to give to your friends, your family, and your clients once you become a coach with us as well. Okay. Now, if that wasn't enough, because I love giving things, I would just like to give all day long. If that wasn't enough, what we're also going to give you, for any of you, now you'll have a decision to make. Decision is the key to the how. Okay, most people don't take action until they make a decision. You have to make a decision to learn the how. This is how I manifested everything in my life. I made a decision, and then the how was presented to me from the divine, from my imagination. This is how it works. And so what I've decided, you've got 3 options, 3 amazing prosperity, personal development packages to choose from and to decide from. And this took a lot of work for me to get this put into gear today. Okay. I'm lining up all our coaches. And so no matter what you decide, there's something here for every one of you, everybody on this call, everybody watching the replay. I want you to be part of this movement. I want you to be part of this mission 2024. We're going out into the world. So on the website, you're going to see there's a button that says book your call. We're going to give all of you, if that wasn't enough, you're all going to get a free complimentary coaching session with one of our coaches so that we can help you map out your plan for 2024. So go to the website, prosperitysummit2023.com, click at the top, pick your holiday packages, and get on a call. Now, everyone, don't jump on it right now. We still have more work to do. And to be honest, I'm lining up the coaches so they can get ready, so they can take your calls and they can coach you and get a beautiful plan in place, okay? So we'll leave the replays up, Mark and Crystal and Xavier, we're gonna leave the replays up until Sunday night. You need to make a decision before Sunday if you're going to take advantage of this offer, okay? They're all standing by waiting to hear from you. Give us until after Mark has his beautiful session here, and then go on and start booking your calls and come and talk to us and our coaches, okay? So this is very important. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I look forward to working with all of you. And I will be actually on the calls as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cliona. We're excited to speak to everyone and help you usher in the new you for 2024.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, so Mark, do you want to
I'm ready to do it. If Ken can switch the screen, make sure you give it to me and we'll do it.
Yep. So
thank you. We've got behind the scenes, we've got Ken Walls who will answer questions with Xavier, Crystal, and I, and Cliona at the end.
Yeah.
So if you can give us the opening screen, we'll just go straight into it.
Well, why don't we switch to a trailer or something for a minute while he gets set up? Should we do that?
Are you ready, Ken, back there? If you are, let's just go straight into it if we can.
You guys have to share your screen.
Okay.
Cliona, stop sharing.
Hold on.
And you share your screen, and we'll put it up on the screen for you to be able to share your.
See how to share it? I don't.
Presentation.
Can you show us how to share it, Ken? Just
Wait,
got it.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Share screen.
Okay.
My wife is much more techie oriented than I am. I understand.
I love it.
Conceptually, she understands it technologically. Do we right behind here, honey?
No.
That's why.
Did you click present?
Yeah, it's selected a tab to share.
I'm so glad she's here to guide me through this.
Not a Chrome tab. I want a window. Let's see. We'll just say the entire screen. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Full screen. Okay.
And you want to go presentation?
Hold it. Did
Can you see it?
Did you click share at the bottom?
Yep. Do you see it?
I do not.
Could you hear me?
Chrome has, go to system preferences.
Oh, it's not authorized yet. Go to system preferences.
Okay.
This is hey, everybody's getting some free tech training here at the same time. So click, when you go to system preferences, there's a little lock down at the bottom left. You have to click that, enter your password.
Okay.
And then
thanks for working through this with us, you guys.
Thank you guys for being patient. This is the first time we've had a glitch, and it's totally my fault because I didn't.
It's all good.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Look, somebody said at least you use a Mac, LOL.
Right.
That's true.
Okay, so am I clicking? What am I sharing here?
You want to give it, if there's a an option to put a check mark next to Chrome. Do you see in the system preferences?
Yep.
Okay, and then click. Once you put the check mark there, just close that and go back to present.
Need to click mark right there.
Got it.
Go back to present and share screen.
Can you see it now?
Okay.
Not yet. Not until you share it.
And entire screen and share.
Oh, I don't know how Xavier got back on here, but we're going to hang tight for Xavier.
PowerPoint with me if you want.
Choose what to share. Okay, entire screen.
There you go. And click share down at the bottom after you click entire screen.
It's not opening for whatever reason. Let's see. To share audio. It's not getting, window? It'll let me share window.
Okay, do window.
Should I just try window? It's not letting me.
Yeah,
okay.
hit window.
Okay.
Do window. Yep.
Okay.
There it is. There it is.
Okay.
You got it.
Guys.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
You shared.
Can I just come on real quick? This is live, folks. This is live, as you can see. I see so many messages are coming in the chat. They're booking their calls. You have to wait 30 minutes. Don't start booking.
Thank you all for doing it. Thank you all for supporting your future. We're excited to talk to you. So we'll be ready.
Okay. Do you have? Is that the presentation? That's our window here.
Yes.
And you can see it, right?
Yes, but I don't see the presentation. No. I see the Zoom.
It's at the top. Change the tab at the top. It's the 3 tabs. It was the wrong tab.
Oh, what are you seeing, guys?
Seeing the
You're not seeing the presentation?
No.
We are live.
Here, let me try something where I can share it, and Mark, you can just tell me when to switch tabs. How about, or switch slides?
Yep.
We'll just try that.
Okay, try that.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. This is
patience is a virtue.
I know.
And
well, it's a good time for everybody to have a conversation in the chat, you guys.
That's right.
You know what? While we're waiting, can we have some questions coming in, and I'll queue them up for the end, please?
Yes. I love questions. We love questions.
Put your questions in.
Bring on the questions.
Yes, bring on the questions.
Let me remove this. Oh no, I just removed Mark and Crystal.
Okay, well, me and Xavier are here. We can take questions.
Oh my Lord.
Happily.
Hi, Xavier. This is the fun of live, isn't it?
It is. It's wonderful. It's so much fun being on with you and Mark and Crystal. This has been such a blessing. I really enjoyed this, and we got to do more of this. And I will say, I'm calling me if you want me to participate in any of the camps that you're offering as part of the bundles. I'm happy to come and participate.
Did you hear that? Absolutely. I'm going to say a yes. We would be honored. And I know you did a meditation, folks. Xavier did a meditation for one of our Good Morning Self-Discipline camps. It was on the West Coast. And I'm not kidding, but some of the coaches are on here now in the chat. It was one of the best meditations that I've ever experienced in my life. Truly. Truly.
Well, it was a powerful experience. I could just feel everyone's vibration coming in, from all around the world. It was a wonderful multicultural gathering with this common vibrational through line of all being metaphysicians who are consciously moving through their personal growth, and very, very touching and very, very deep. I didn't have to do anything but sit there and let it come through.
See, that really is the key. The more we become the channel for the good, and we've heard that this week from a few of the speakers. And you're an incredible channel to allow God's grace to come through to and through you to us. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's my joy. And one of the things that we're offering in the bundle, I meant to say, it's called the Abundance Blueprint, Unleash Financial Miracles. And I know one of the selections you've been playing in the background has been Miracles, one of the
my favorite.
Yes, thank you so much. And the thing about a miracle, it is something that is beyond not just our expectation or our imagination. It's beyond our ability to expect, beyond our ability to imagine, because it comes from a higher place that we can't even conceive of. And it drops in, and that's why it's a miracle. And you can do that with your finances. This program is going to help you be able to do that. Position your mind and your heart and your spirit to receive at that level.
Wow. Did you hear that? So I'm gonna get working on it myself. I'm gonna download it myself and do it the right way. Wow. So prosperity miracles, let's create them 2024 and right now actually. And so this has been incredible. Mark, you're back. You're back.
And by the way, I will teach this if I need to without being able to show a PowerPoint, I guess. But Ken says he's going to bring up a PowerPoint and we'll do it. And then Xavier will continue asking and answering questions with us at the end, I hope, if he's got time. Okay, cool. So Ken, can you just bring it up and I will tell you when to click forward from here. How's that?
Give me 1 second. I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm going to hitchhike on what Xavier said because I love doing that. And what Reverend Ike taught was the 3 levels of money. The lowest level of money is materiality, your cash, your gold, your silver, your Cougarans, your whatever you've got, right? But then the next level of money is the psychic, the awareness of money, which is what Wall Street's about, right? They manipulate money on a full-time basis, trying to go forward and make things happen. But then there's a higher level of money, which is what Xavier's talking about, the consciousness of money, where you can start doing instantaneous materialization. And as you ascend in consciousness, and I'm doing that better than ever with Crystal. I mean, we pray and meditate together for over an hour every morning, and we ascend in seeing that it will do. And I can just tell you unequivocally, things are happening almost before, the Bible says, before you call, I will answer in Isaiah. And what happens is that's exactly what Xavier and I listened to his dad talk about at a full-time basis. And he'd manifest everything. Like they owned a residency down in Florida. I remember him telling me, and he drives up in one of his limousines and goes inside and there's no curtains. And he says, I need curtains. And they go out and open up the limousine. I don't know if you remember this story or not, Xavier, but they open up the trunk of the car and had exactly the right drapes for the new house. Do you remember that, Xavier?
I don't.
I know. Well, your dad and I spent a lot of time together, as you know, and I certainly, you've got the drapes. So they fear the benefit. Here's the deal. My teacher was Dr. Buckminster Fuller. His teacher was Albert Einstein. Albert said the top of physics, physical reality, right? The low level, the first level of consciousness of money is transformed, like what Xavier said about alchemy, where you turn straw into gold. If you've read The Alchemist, which is a great book that's now sold 150 million, and going to sell 500 million, I predict, when the movie comes out this next week. But when you go to the top of physics, Albert Einstein said, you get to metaphysics, where it becomes like meta magic, that you are a divine creator, which is what he was talking about. You have this divinity inside, but you've got to spend in-depth time. And I wanted to talk to that for a second before I let Xavier talk again while we're solving our technical issue. Earl Nightingale said, if you spend an hour a day studying whatever subject it is you want to be the master maestro of for 5 years, in 5 years, you're going to be the all-time expert of it. And it is a growth process. And what we're saying is that growth process is inside out. Some of you say, well, I'm an accountant, I'm a medical doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a garbage man, whatever it is that you are. And let's just do the process. Most people say, well, garbage men are low. No, I know a multi-billion-dollar garbage man. He's in Horatio, Algiers with us. He's a guy who created all garbage companies back in 1952. Wayne Huizinga, now his son Wayne Jr. is running it. But the fact of the matter is that he built garbage dumps. There's no such thing as a garbage dump before 1952. And he became a multi-billionaire because he kept escalating his consciousness. And yes, he'd only gone to 8th grade. And yes, he didn't have an academic education. And yes, he dirtied his hands by taking garbage cans and emptying them into a garbage truck at the beginning of his career. And then what he did is he kept improving it. And as you improve your mental stature, your thinking stature, your going inside the secret place of the Most High, you start to manifest at higher and better levels. Back to you, Zager.
Wonderful. And what you're saying, Mark, that triggers in me, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So that is a statement that encapsulates the idea of prosperity and abundance. The Lord is my shepherd. That means God is guiding me. And if I'm following God's guidance, I will want for nothing. That means all of my needs are met. If I'm following the guidance of God in my soul and my spirit, I'm on the path of my destiny, I shall not want. My needs, but also my preferences will be met. See, happiness consists of fulfilling our needs. Joy comes when we fulfill our preferences. That's why my dad's telecast was called The Joy of Living, because he was turning, countless people on to how to get their needs met, get that happiness, but then how to fulfill your preferences based on the potential of God within. And so when we work at that level, understanding we're following divine guidance and we trust, right? According to your faith, so be it unto you, according to your ability to trust those things that aren't seen because they haven't manifest, but they're on the way. Because when you're following God's guidance, it's a treasure map. You're going to from station to station in gratitude, collecting all of this wonderful bounty that comes to you, but also giving the bounty that comes forth from you.
Here's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When you get to the other side, when you transition and shuffle off the mortal coil and go to the other side, where you're back to pure spirit again, you do not have this physicality on the other side. Maybe temporarily, I guess you could see that. But it is amazing, and we're almost ready. So I'll just finish with this. St. Peter is going to take you to the house of houses. And I got a joke here that I'll start when I start the thing about that. But St. Peter is going to take you to a house. And when you get to the house, it says Mark Victor Hansen and Crystal Hansen, or in Xavier and Annette's house. You say, can I go in? He said, yeah, but you're going to see all the things you could have asked for and didn't. That's the point. Now, that's why you invest in these products. That's why you're going to get a couple of Reverend Ike's books in one of these packages, and you're going to go out and give them to other people that need that. Today, this morning, at dawn, I had a guy call me that is in desperate need, who was ready to be suicidal, and he's a friend of mine, a Vietnam military leader, and I turned him around and I helped him just because I have a consciousness that I'm whole, complete, solid, and I'm operating on my divinity so I could re-show him his divinity. Now, you all are going to grow and glow as you invest in these products. You're going to, that 5-year journey that Earl Nightingale talked about, you're going to keep escalating up. And that's why Reverend Ike kept saying, you got to keep repeating and repeating the basics so you understand them. And that's why I'm going too long here, but Vince Lombardi used to come out and say, the first thing he said to the Green Bay Packers, which was the greatest football team when I was a little kid, this, ladies and gentlemen, is a football, and Bart Starr, his best player, would say, not so fast, coach. So let's go to the slideshow if we can, Ken. All right. Hot diggity dog. There's no music. It's just me exploring it, and you can go forward. But you're here to make not a little impact. If you're with us, you're here to transform into an exponential impact, each and every one. Next slide, please, Ken. I just keep saying next. I see you, Xavier, Cliona, and every one of you is here to make an exponential impact. This is the story of the loaves and the fishes, where he took a little fish and a little bread, and he manifested at a high, magnificent level. When a tax collector came to the big guy, he said, Peter, go out and fish. First fish, you'll have a gold coin. Pay for me and the whole team. He always took a little. When Peter had gone out and fished out all night, he started fishing, and he went down on, it said on the right side of the boat. And if you've seen the movie or show The Chosen, which you haven't, you want to see it, but they broke up so much fish, it was starting to break the boat. So they had to bring another fishing boat. Ladies and gentlemen, you're here to go through your physical into your mental, into your spiritual realms, so you can make an exponential impact. Next slide. And that next slide is, and you say, well, how did you do that? Well, I'm listening to Reverend Ike, and I'm bankrupt. I'm upside down. I'm despondent, disconsolate, suicidal. And in my inner knower, I didn't tell anyone, because your big, hairy, audacious goals, you do not go out and shout, because somebody will try to crush them. Just like 144 publishers tried to crush Jack and I. But I said, I'm going to become world's best-selling nonfiction author. And like Hill interviewed 500 people, I interviewed 101 best-selling fiction, nonfiction authors. I didn't ask, how do you write? I said, tell me exactly what you do to market. And then I created a wow of a business plan in my journal, which I gladly showed Reverend Ike. But in that was that somewhere down the line, we were going to do that. All of you have an exponential vision inside. And the way you get there, we taught in our ask thing in the beginning is, God in me, what is my vision? What is my exponential 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 vision? It's going to come to you in the middle of the night, probably. You need to have your, I don't care what you have, a yellow pad. I don't care if you have your journal, whatever you have next to you, or your dictating machine, dictate what that is and lock it down. Tell your sweetheart, whoever you're sleeping with, this is going to come through, because Mark promises. It's not Mark promising. You came in here coded, as you've heard every speaker say, with greatness, with magnificence, with wonder, with splendiferousness, with an exponential result you're supposed to do. Next slide, please. And obviously, according to Guinness Book of Records, I'm world's best-selling author. And when we interviewed, one of the guys I interviewed was at Harvard with Jack. Jack was in third in his class, ahead of a psychiatrist who wrote Road Less Travel. When I interviewed Scott Peck, I said, Scott, tell me what you did to market it. And he was #1 New York Times 58 weeks in a row. So we talked about it. We put the goal, we whited out Scott's name on that little book review thing from New York Times and USA Today and Publishers Weekly, put our names, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And we were #1 58 weeks in a row, not only with #1, but then with #2. And journalists would say, well, do you mind selling #2 more than #1? No, because that means I've already bought #1. They need #2. And it kept switching every week, but we stayed #1 for 58 weeks in a row. And then we had 1,500 of the top 50 on the USA Today list, because we came out with so many books. We got 252 books. As some of you haven't heard, but I've sold way over 500 million. And now we're being catapulted forward with Napoleon Institute and with what we're doing with, we think on the other side, Reverend Ike is up in heaven praying that this goes forward, because he said, hey, Mark, hey, Xavier, hey, Mrs. Eichencoder, we're going to have a legacy. This is the legacy. This is the transformational biography of all time. It'll take you from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. If you're ready, you just got to say to yourself, I'm ready. I'm here to make this transformation. I'm deciding in favor of myself, deciding in favor of sourcing and serving. And let me just say, abundance starts first. You got to be abundant. Then you take abundance to your family. Then your abundance to your city, your state, your country. And you're here to hear throughout Cliona said, we're going to take abundance to the world. It is available for the first time, thanks to YouTube, thanks to, all the great stuff that my hero Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX, with his 40,000 satellites. We're going to be able to get to everybody everywhere on planet Earth. Next slide. Very exciting. Here's what Jack and I did. We created an empire, which I used to do the mega seminars. You heard Michael say he came and talked at my mega, and it was such a joy. Next slide. I created 2 stories about the Bible. Number one, and I hope you all read it, but I did Chicken Soup of the Soul Bible. My publisher said, well, I'm not going to do that. Nobody will buy the Bible. It sold 3.5 million. So I said, here's a little piece of paper, sign that piece of paper, and we're going to go forward, and you're going to get to do it. And we want to see what you can do. I don't know what I did just now to touch that, but I don't know how to come back for sure. But, oh, good. It's still there. Anyhow, so we ended up selling 70,000 a week of Chicken Soup for the Soul Bible, where I got little stories to get you in a big story, because you're here to have a spiritual awakening. Because the reason you're on this is that your soul is alive inside and it's beating, trying to come out, as far as I'm concerned, and be cellular aware. And that's why somebody says, I decided to radiate abundance. That's exactly it. Next slide. Now, the first 4-minute mile is back in 1954. A medical doctor, Roger Bannister, wrote it and broke it. And I was just on the world's biggest podcast at Amazon bestsellers. And it's interesting. Mark Devenrose said, do you know who Roger Bannister was? I said, yeah, I ran the 4-minute mile. He said, you're the 4-minute mile of books. I said, that's exactly what I wanted to be. Because what happened, I said, Mark, the next week after he ran the 4-minute mile, I said, I don't know. 119 people ran the 4-minute mile. Physiologically, anatomically, we were no different. What happened is we had a change of mind, a change of belief. By you imbibing, by getting intoxicated positively by the stuff we're sharing, you're going to transform yourself, your life, your family, your future, your fortunes. Because Bob Proctor and I created MSIs back in 1986. Multiple sources of income. Bob and Alan and I wrote it as multiple streams of income. Now, I'm only showing that my wife and I are both runners, and every year we have our whole family, about 50 family members, go to the Boulder every year, because my younger brother, when I built my first business in Boulder, Triadome, and then merged it to a New York company and then sold it, and bankrupted it actually, but is that we ran with 120,000 people. Now the Kenyans run almost a 4-minute mile coming in there. We're arriving here with 120,000 people cheering for us. I want you to know there's people out there that are going to be cheering for you that don't have a clue who you are. But as you break through on their behalf. Next slide. What is exponential? It means increasing more and more rapidly, like you just heard Miss Butler say. And in mathematics, it is, and I got a degree in synergetic energetic geometry, but in mathematics, it's not linear 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're walking down a flight of stairs, it's 30 steps. But if you're doing it exponential, it's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Here's the point. $1 in 30 evolutions, $1 becomes $1 billion. That's why you're seeing more billionaires. And right now in America, we have in excess of 6,000 billionaires. And I've told you in earlier seminars, sell to the rich because they got the money, and make yourself rich and then help bring up the poor. It's amazing what you can do. Next slide. And I'm still doing that. Exponential of 2. Exponential's consistent compounding. If you write down something as you're writing these notes, write down consistent. You heard that just now as law number 7 from Kristen, compounding. That's what's happening with Tesla. That's what's happening with AI, artificial intelligence. And by the way, either you're going to be AI enabled or AI not enabled. And in the next 5 years, there's going to be more billionaires and millionaires and cent millionaires than ever before in history. Technologies, there's so many of them that are breakthrough, and they're bringing them to one of my companies. I own MarkVictorHansenLibraries.com. Every day, almost, somebody's bringing us a technology that's going to get us so we can get books to 1 billion people. Nobody's ever wanted it. I've wanted it in my heart and soul. I knew there was a way to do it. And we got one guy who's just brought us the possibility, got turned down by everybody at the big companies in New York, to take every verbal message, my voice, my sound, my intonation, from English into Swahili to Japanese to Spanish, 85 languages, 98% accurate, that quick. They wouldn't take it, and I did. Robotics. Cars are being made with robotics. We got a guy here going to make houses with robotics. I spent 3 days with my hero, Elon Musk, learning how to build houses so we have them cheaper, better, faster, because we're short 6.5 million houses in America. And we've been saying there's a blue collar gold rush happening in America. And we've had two of the best guys. We're going to have more of them in the future, but we've had my dear friends, Brian Hess, and I hope you will go back and listen to him again and again, and Tommy Mella, who this year his company will turn $1 billion. So it's interesting. It's happening, and it can happen for you. Next slide, please. You were created to be exponential. You were created exponentially. Just think a sperm and a zygote got together. You are right now, I am right now, 100 trillion cells. 100 trillion cells. Think about that. You were created in the image and likeness. Genesis 1:28, it says you're created to create, to contribute, and exponentially be charitable. That's why I won the Horatio Alger Award, because I came from rags to riches. It had been exponentially. This year we'll have 35,000 at-risk kids get scholarships to go to college or technological school, because we think they're equal. But then no one's equal unless you take in self-help action stuff on a regular basis. That's why I drank in for 7 years everything Reverend Ike had. I took the pennies in my pocket. I bought every audio tape, every book, every transcription, every article he wrote, everything, because what your input, your throughput creates your output. Next slide. Your heartbeat beats 72 beats a minute on a regular basis. Now, the lower it is, if you exercise every day, like I was up at 5:30 this morning exercising for my hour, and I'm a solid rock at 75. You've got to take discipline and be that. And Crystal's going to do a whole program for Nightingale Corner on just this. But that is almost 36,720 heartbeats a year. Now, the lower your heartbeat, the longer you're going to live, up to under 36, then you die. But if you are healthy, you have a lower heart rate, but that's exponential. Now, if you do that over a lifetime, you think, wow, and you start to think how much food you've got, and all that food is transformed into your body. I do not weigh 100 tons of my body weight of all the food I've eaten and transformed into this great physical form. Next slide. Who's been exponential? Well, my hero in basketball, because my grandson is becoming a star, you'll see him in a second, is Michael Jordan. He didn't play the first 2 years in high school. Then he started playing because he trained every day for 68 hours a day, and he was called the Flying Jordan, and he slam dunk. Next picture in the middle there is Helen Keller, Mark Twain's best friend. And parents were told, you got to kill her. She can't speak. She can't hear. And she got one little mastermind partner, Annie Sullivan, who saw more in her than she saw in herself. And she transformed the world. She said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. Ladies and gentlemen, together, Cliona, Crystal, Ken Walls, Xavier want to do so much. Let's just take the newest thing coming out from my hero, Elon Musk. And he's the only guy, you can watch my YouTube videos on, has a 200 IQ. That's impossible. Nobody can have that. But as you keep working on your brain, and you'll see something he did in a minute, he's just created a new phone called the Pi phone that's coming out. It's going to cost half as much as an iPhone. It is solar charged. It'll change any color you want it to be. It's going to be connected with 40,000 satellites. So for the first time, total humanity can talk, and we're going to have instant language translation. So you can talk to somebody in Hindi, Urdu, or Uruguay, or Telugu, or Canadese, or whatever language anywhere in the world. You're going to be able to do business worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got something to sell, something to do worldwide. Obviously, Madame Curie was not allowed to win a Nobel Prize because only men win Nobel Prizes. How asinine is that? I gladly say my wife is wiser than I am, and functionally. Mother Teresa, if you don't know her story, and I got two to do real quick, she sees Christ in the guy's eyes at age 57, because some of you are saying, well, I'm too old, I can't do this. She picks up, now I lived in India for a long time, so it starts at Brahman and goes down to untouchable. She was picking up an untouchable, the guy with leprosy, sort of like Christ did. Saw Christ in his eyes, healed him, but that's not the story. She created Sisters of Charity. She goes ahead of the diocese and says, I want to start Sisters of Charity. Says, how much money you got? She said, I got 3 cents. Said, you can't start Sisters of Charity with 3 cents. Get out of here. She said, wait a second. 3 cents and God, I can do anything. And my brother was in the stadium recently when she was alive, the last talk she did, I guess, with 90,000 people. And he said he never saw anyone that could turn people upside down, including him, and just give so much money. Sexiest man alive, Rock. What did he do? He's visualized himself picture after picture after picture to go forward. And then the right-hand side, we have one of my students who we'll talk about in just a second that just does wondrous pictures. And she's a kid. Next slide. Here I am at a Suns game. And as you may know, the Phoenix Suns are just kicking it right now. But my little grandson on the right is Jensen. And he's a grand twin, of course. He was born 30 seconds after his sister. And to my right, your left, as you look at this, is Everett. Everett is not only a superstar at a superstar school, but he just won presidency. And we watched the video. My son called us, Kristen and I, and said, hey, you got to see, we got another speaker after you, Dad, and after me, and that is Everett. And he did the speech to be president against 20 other kids running for president at the Leadership Learning Academy here in Arizona, which is as hard to get into as you can get. And he is the top of his class. And 800 little girls go, Everett, 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 Everett. And he couldn't stop clapping for him because he did such a great speech. And he's pulling off all the miracles. He made promises. But as a basketball player, you need to hear even a kid can have goals. I'm trying to get you rid of ageism in your life, just like sexism, which has already been covered here. But nobody covered ageism, and I'm covering it today. He does 100 3-point shots a day, every day. He won't go to bed until he's done 100 3-point shots. He walks around like he's playing basketball, and he does it for Grampy. And I've got a gazillion pictures in my smartphone. And I said, what are you going to be, Everett? You're 11 years old. He said, I'm going to be a Phoenix Sun at 18 years old. And I said, just out of curiosity, goofing around. I said, what are you going to get paid? He said, minimum $30 million a year. I said, then what? He said, then I'm going to coach the Phoenix Suns because they're the best. Grampy, then what? Then I'm going to own them. And if you know anything about sports teams, that's 3.8 billion or more. Next slide. So get rid of ageism. I don't care if you're young or old, you can pull off real magic. Next slide, Ken. When I went through a painful, exorbitantly expensive divorce, I wrote down 287 things I needed in my ideal person. I've sent this to Cliona to give to all of you as a bonus gift. But in the 20th anniversary issue of Chicken Soup for the Soul, they listed only 112. They said, you can't do the whole book. You can just do 112. All the stuff you got to have, and you can read it on the thing. She's got to have a positive mental attitude. She's got to be socially adept. She's got to be extraordinary. She's got to be proud of me and me proud with her. She's got to live in the grandeur of life. She's got to totally love me. She's got to love my family and me love hers. She's got to be happy. She's got to be a great person. She's got to be a superb conversationalist, wise, witty. I didn't know that woman was possible. And then we met, and you've heard us tell the story in the Ask thing, so I won't go any deeper, except that you never cross out your goals. You write down victory next to them because we all pulsate. We go up and down. We have peaks and valleys. We said the vicissitudes of life when I was talking to Lynette Zhang, and you're going to have them too. But I found my idyllic person. She found me, and we needed each other because we're spurring on each other greater growth to peak achievement. And yes, we're going to watch every one of the videos again on here, and we'll invest in all the stuff. And we're getting out a lot of Reverend Ike books. Please forward, and we'll sign them when we meet you somewhere down the happy road. So when you bring it to it, next slide, please, Ken. Here's my great teacher in college, Dr. R. Buckminster Foley is 71. I was 21. But Bucky taught this idea. Next slide. Is it real wealth? RW equals ideas times energy. Ideas times energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, folks. You know the 3 laws of thermodynamics. It can only be transmuted. There's only energy. There's no shortage of energy. Don't listen to any of the idiot naysayers in the world. You got to listen to people that know what they're talking about and do the result. And I own 2 gargantuan companies, one of which we're taking trash, turning into cash you can go to reminingcorp.com and look at it. But we take metal and pick it up, metal in garbage dumps, glass to glass, plastic to plastic. 60% all garbage is water. We're squishing it out and making it again. Just like when we go up in this spaceship where Elon's going to take 1 million people in the next 5 years to Mars, he says, that you can't once you're in the spaceship leaving, you can't go back and get more water or more resources. You got to be taking it with you. So ideas, what do we see about ideas? Ideas, if you're paying attention to positive, correct thinking, like we've been talking about here, You can only have more. It is the infinite loop, right? We said you're infinite, and the infinite loop keeps getting bigger, better, brighter, not just for me, but for you. Next slide. Look, I've been studying Egyptianology, and they thought the sun was God. It is not God. It's made by God, of course, but the sun is the goal out of which all things come. E equals MC squared. E, Bucky Fuller taught me, is the energy of all physical universe, either as radiance or squared as matter, like this table that I'm knocking on here. I am congealed energy. You are congealed energy. That's it. Everything is energy. So there's only two ways to look at universe. One, out of physics, energy is. The other is out of theology or spirituality, God is. So what does that mean? It means God is energy, and you decide to have a lot of energy. And people say, how do you have so much energy at 75? You've got as much energy as I do. If you're sick, start thinking healthy thoughts. Let the sick say, I'm well. You saw Reverend Ike say in the short video. Next slide, please. This is important. Some of you have never written your goals. Elon Musk went through a lot of schools coming out of South Africa. I can tell you his whole story, and I've read the big book, of course, by Walter Isaacson, which is a great book. But back in 1995 at Stanford, what did he say? I want to be in these 5, and now he's in 7 industries, but 5. I want sustainable energy production and consumption. I want the internet. I want to be into space exploration. I want artificial intelligence, and I want to rewrite human genetics. Well, he's in Tesla. He's in PayPal, which he created with Peter Thiel, which we could go into, SpaceX, Solar City, and now he has got a new company called Neuralink, which he is able to regenerate people who can't walk to walk, can't see to see, can't hear to hear. Now, there's some downsides, and he's the first to say that AI has those downsides, but it has tremendous, extraordinary, exponential upsides, and that's what's made him the richest man in the world. And by the way, whenever you're successful, low-minded, ignorant people try to dethrone you. And even today, when I read a half hour of news feeds from 100 different news feeds, they're taking bow and arrows. I'm a big target because I'm world's best-selling author. He's a bigger target, and they're trying to say stuff that isn't true. They're saying he's anti-Semitic. He's not anti-anything. He is pro-human life, pro more population, because we're depopulating the world. They did stupid stuff. I've been to China 80 times where they had a one baby policy and they killed all the girls for the last 28 years. Well, now they're 30 million women short. And they want to steal population from other people. And that's what's happened historically. But we've got to raise our consciousness and awareness so we can take care of everybody, because if we have abundance, we don't have war. Next slide. Here's my goals back in 1974, but I'll just hit number 4, and I hit on it already. Convert all of what we call pollutants, which can be defined as a resource in the wrong place at the wrong time, into usable resources. I'm doing it. I'm doing every one of my goals, because you got to have goals that are big. Well, I just want to make 100,000 or 1 million or 10 million. Well, good for you, but that's a beginning. You take care of yourself, your family. We said city, state, country. Then we take care of the world. You're not here, I'm going to go retire because I'm 55 and a half, 65 or 72 and a half, and I got Social Security. No, you're not allowed to ever retire. Go play bridge. Go play pickleball. Go golf, whatever you do. But that isn't the end. You're here to rewire yourself, put on new tires and go in a new, better direction. Next slide. People want results of your wisdom. If you're here, you have got to be reading, listening, the audios, the videos, the self-help and action. That's what we're giving you. That's Reverend Ike's legacy. We're giving you the inspiration so you'll do the perspiration with a dedication toward a destination to realize your life's goal. You're here for something impactfully important. You're here to create phenomenal, not baby, phenomenal significance. Next slide, please. Some of you say, well, can that be true? Well, we get called by the guy who found Oprah, the guy who created Wheel of Fortune, the guy who created Jeopardy, the guy who found Dr. Oz. He's producer of a show that's seen by 8 million people on radio a day, Keep the Faith Radio and Encouragement Radio. 150 million hours of radio he owns. He's listened to, as I said, by 8 million a day. He invites us down to his studio outside of Nashville, a little place outside Nashville, the high-priced town, and he looks like Santa Claus, sort of. He's jovial, he's wonderful, but he's one of the best editors I've ever had. And we've started putting shows together because he wants the same thing we want, to go out to the whole world, enlighten them, brighten them, make it bigger, better, and more profound. David Sams. Oh, what a guy. Next slide. We want to stimulate housing unhoused humanity expeditionally, considerately. I'm willing to do that. Feed on fed. Nobody should be hungry. You've heard me say poverty, starvation, deprivation, sickness belong only in one place, a museum. We got to realize this interconnecting electrical network that's being done to raise a standard of living for everybody by Elon Musk. Next slide. I didn't know that was here. Principles of exponentiality. By the way, God's your original transformative exponentializer. You're here to be exponential. Your talent, strengths, abilities go beyond your current awareness. Just trust me. I'm holding up a mirror so you can see it. You're here to ask yourself and find what's the exponential idea in me as an entrepreneur, somebody that finds a problem, solves it, scales it, makes a vast profit, or an intrapreneur. An intrapreneur is like Arthur Fry. He finds a glue at 3M where he's working that doesn't take ink off paper. He uses it in the church hymnals. And then he goes to the company and says, look, I'll tell you what I got, and it's going to make you billions and billions of dollars, but I want 1%. They said, oh, yeah, well, okay, good. Here. It was Post-it notes. They do 50 billion a year of Post-it notes. He's an intrapreneur. Now, because you all read Think and Grow Rich, let me just tell you, in Think and Grow Rich, the first line in the book is about an entrepreneur. And none of you know who he is. He goes up and shakes Mr. Edison's hand and said, Edward C. Barnes, Mr. Edison. He was in work clothes that were dirty, your new partner. I went back and read everything about him. Edward C. Barnes was the inside of General Electric. Edison was the outside. He hired all the best thinkers, one of which was Nikola Tesla, who was way smarter than him, and that upset him greatly. Next slide. The source and original transformation. Next slide. We just covered that, and I just put it in twice. You say, well, is infinite intelligence exponential? It made everything and everything that is, John 1:3. Here's the big deal, though. I owned a $100 million a year company, 397 employees with Bob Allen. We did 1 Minute Millionaire. We did 3 books, Cracking the Millionaire Code, Cash in a Flash, Richest Kids in America. Great books. But Bobby, undergraduate, before he got his MBA at BYU, was an astrophysicist. He got me into astrophysics at a level that if you told me I would be interested, I would have said, nah, I don't think so. I am interested. I just want to show you one picture. You're looking at something nobody ever got to see before 6 months ago. The James Webb telescope went out into space. You're looking at a historical light show of total universe. What Einstein said was the most incomprehensible thing about universe is that it's comprehensible. The most incomprehensible thing about you is that you're comprehensible. You've got an imagination. You can see stuff before you can have stuff. You can manifest it in your mind and manifest it in your experience. You can impress the infinite so the infinite gets so impressed that it brings it back to you. That's why you ask believingly, and then you'll receive, Christ said. This is all of universe. To me, it's so amazing. It's like an Easter egg. It's just beyond gloriously beautiful. But you can see that it's electrically alive. We said physics says energy is. You can see the energy. We say God is. So God is energy. I don't know anyone else saying that other than me putting those two together and showing you that slide. I would love to see your comments on what you have to say about that little piece of nugget of wisdom. Next slide. When you learn, you change your life. Click, please. Ken. When you teach another, the big guy said, you change their life or lives. And we teach others to teach, which is what Cliona is asking you to do. Some of you have it in your heart and your soul. Make the decision and let it implode your subconscious to make the provision. I didn't know how to become world's greatest bestseller and one of the world's great motivational, inspirational, educational speakers. But you make the decision, then you solve the problem. We want you to be coaches. If you are ready, decide to coach with us. That's what we're asking you to do. We want you to learn and earn in return. We want you to teach another, at least one. We've said invite 3 people, invite 10 people, get the packages we're doing, and then teach others to teach. Let's change the world. Next slide. We already said this. A little guy brings fish and bread. There's no McDonald's of that, but now we can. And here's the deal. There's no shortage. There's not a shortage then or now. The big guy had 12 baskets left over, because when you're into manifesting, you can only manifest abundance because universe is abundant. You just saw a picture of universe. There's no shortage of anything. There's no shortage of food, no shortage of money, no shortage of water, no shortage of electricity, no shortage of anything. And what happens is people sell us, there's going to be an oil shortage. Bull. We have enough oil in America for the next 1,000 years if we get political guys off their thumbs. Next slide. Joseph Many-Color Coat. Here's a guy that was in the slammer for 13 years. If you don't know the story, go back. But the most important line in the story is his brothers tried to kill him in every way, and they didn't recognize him when he's second in command to the Pharaoh after he read the Pharaoh's dreams. And he said, what you meant for my harm, God meant for my good. And you've got a lot of videos you can go watch in that. Next slide. Moses, I got to tell you, if you haven't been to Church of the Bible, put it as one of your things you got to do. When you go to Washington, D.C., you go to the Church of the Bible. I was at the opening with my dear friend and his wife, Candy, and Dr. Ben Carson, Crystal and I. And blacks came in and said, well, here's the problem. You don't teach Black Bible. And the guy showed him when I was there, the Black Bible. And the Black Bible, which the slave owners had no chapter of Exodus. The chapter of Exodus means exit the little self, go into your spiritual self, exit the little you, go into the big you, exit Pharaoh's rule over you or any condition or circumstance or experience, and understand that the water will part. And not for just Moses, which it did, and 600 chariots are crashing after him, when it says in, I think it's Psalm 112:3, the wind parted the water and they walked on dry ground. And right behind him, when the Pharaoh and his people came, boom, they're all dust, gone, drowned. And the point is, it's not just for Moses to have this burning bush experience. It's for every one of you where that burns inside, because your desire, we've heard for 4 days, that desire is God in you ready to come forth. Next slide. I hope you're liking this. Next slide. We already taught that, and some of this is duplicated. Here, I told you, this woman is so full of love. You're seeing a little 8-year-old. She's in my book, Richest Kids in America, makes $1 million painting. Her parents were atheists, Cramrocks. She painted Jesus as she saw him in her mind. She paints freehand. Go look at her artwork, Cramrock. The youngest, most profitable artist in the world. I've got one of her pictures she's a dear friend. Her dad has gone from non-spirituality to totally spiritually driven because her daughter draws these pictures. She gave me a picture she got $1 million for. I got one of the replicas signed personally by her of God's hands creating the universe. She is profound. Like you heard Michael Beckwith say, you can't really explain why that is. It just is. Just like Reverend Ike says, I do the work of 20 people because he went into his deeper innermost mind, worked around the clock with Star Cleo, who you've heard about today and all that. Next slide. Here she is, Adriana Kramarak. Okay, so we said earlier, you're either enabled by AI or you're not enabled. And you can go from 10 to 100 to 1 over your own strength as you learn how to use the greatest power. But we got to use it for good, ladies and gentlemen, get everyone and pray that everyone only uses this for good. Because AI is so fast now, it could empty all the bank accounts in a blink. And that's why our friend Elon Musk is making sure we only have positive AI. He's the one who created it in 2015 when he created ChatGPT, which is amazing, amazing. You watch Dr. Jordan Peterson, what he has to say about it too. And he and I are in agreement on that. Next slide. Whoops, next slide forward. I never expected to have somebody write my biography. Only 1 in 100 million people, according to Google, have a biography. But if you get so excited about this and you want to see what I did, Mitzi Perdue has become a great friend. She's in Egypt. She's in the pyramids. She's watching vibration, which you've kept hearing about frequency throughout, change this place and morph it. And she's sitting next to one of my best friends from West Point, Brad Rotter. And he said, do you want to talk to the world's best-selling author? She said, no, I'd be intimidated. Now, she graduated head of her class at Harvard long, long ago. Anyhow, they get on the phone, and she and I instantly had rapport. She said, my God, I got to tell you your story. She's written a biography about her father. She's only double heiress in the world. Her father created during the Depression, you need to know this, Sheraton hotel chains and opened up 400 Sheraton hotels. And he took care of his people first, then the customer. Because if you take care of the people that work for you, then you can take care of the customer. And you can read the biography on Ernest Henderson. Then she wrote about her husband. They do 22 million chickens a week just for Costco. And if you've never had a Costco chicken, get with somebody that's a member. Go in there for $4.99. If you buy it raw, it's $11.99. Same organic, out in the sunshine, eat the best food. You know, they got 11 farms around America, but they do 22 million of chickens a week for Costco. It's just amazing. Anyhow, she writes this biography called Relentless, says, you got to give me all your friends to interview. And she said, you said you wouldn't let me edit a word. I said, I won't. I want the blemishes. I want the pimples, because everybody goes up and down. Nobody goes straight up. And it won 10 book awards. Last year, it was the book biography of the year. We're hoping that by the end of this year, thanks to your help, Reverend Ike's book becomes a biography of the year. Next slide. Reverend Ike, an extraordinary life of influence, and I might add affluence. He was a supernatural healer. He got more poor people to get rich than anybody alive at his time. Talked to tens of millions of people around the world on his TV broadcast. Helped save my life. Saved, you've heard several people, everybody today. Just amazing in Bob Proctor's life. Next slide. Get one or a lot. We just are finishing now the biography. It won't come out until January 2025. This guy, John Paul DeJoria, and that's his wife, Eloise. His first wife left him. He comes home, she kisses him, runs out, jumps in the car, takes off. He goes in and there's a note with his 2-year-old baby, John Anthony, and says, I'm gone. I took all the money. I took the car and I didn't pay the rent and I didn't pay anything for the last couple months. He is immediately homeless for the next 2 years, living in his car, going up to Griffith Park, getting fed with his baby by Hell's Angels, and starts to turn it around, creates Paul Mitchell hair. Then he creates Patron, which everyone said, you'll never make it doing a tequila company. And they do 100 million bottles. That's $1.2 billion a year. Then he does another one. He now owns 40 companies. But his title is Success Without Sharing His Failure. Here's why that's important. He's down in the Caribbean, in the island of Antigua, has an island next to it, Barbuda, and there's wiped out by the hurricane. He decides to invest there, brings in the top ichthyologist fish doctor, brings back fish, turtles, makes it hurricane proof. So he's changing the Caribbean. And as I speak to you, he's in Dubai talking to everybody that we can make the world hurricane proof. Why? Because he decided, even though he's an octogenarian, he is going to make a difference and makes a difference. Because the book title is Success Without Sharing Failure. He's got 100% employment on the island now. In his hometown of Austin, they're feeding 40,000 people a night. They test everybody. 60% of the people that are homeless can be re-employed, go back to work. He trains them, gets them back to work, feeds everybody. And they're now building, I don't remember what number it is, 12 houses a month by those people that couldn't get work by anybody else. He goes to Mali, Africa, and they don't have any water. So he personally pays for 44 wells. They have so much water. They're growing so much food. They feed 5 countries around it. Your question as you listen to me, and I'm shouting at you out of my enthusiasm and excitement. Enthusiasm means spirit within showing without. What can one man do? Well, you've seen a lot of one persons, one man, one woman that makes a decision in consciousness before they could know it and make the provision in their experience. Next slide. This is another guy that's doing monstrous amount of goods. And we're doing his biography, Lyle Anderson. And he is, I'd rather see a sermon than have one. He get buddied up with Jack Nicklaus and built 46 of the best golf courses here in America and Scotland and Dubai and the UAE and all over the world. But he is, and his wife Missy are our dearest friends. But he does so great with these golf courses, and every golf course, one day a month, he makes sure the golf course is shut down to anything but the charity that they raise money for. And he raises fortunes by doing stuff that no one thought was possible. We're going to go through this fast, but our little publishing company, Mark Victor Hansen Library, has decided has done all those books and right. Elevate is the one by Tommy Mello. Next slide, please. We want everybody, every one of you to have a book. And obviously I've written and talked about Chicken Soup, I've talked about 1 Minute Millionaire, talked about Ask, but you've got a story to share. Next slide. We want to make sure you started because, and you've got it in our packages. We started small because there's an unmet need and nobody was doing what we're doing. We ghostwrite and help publish books. And our desire is to help everybody bring their impact story to life. You've got an impact story, and you can go to markvictorhansenlibrary.com and find out if you should work with us or not and do it yourself. Great. Next slide. We're cheering you on no matter what the thing. But celebrities pay fortunes for it. I mean, Elon Musk's book cost $4 million before it was made. There's a huge demand for biographies and autobiographies. I've said to you, read a book a week in your zone, but read at least one biography or autobiography a month. I've read over 6,000 biographies and autobiographies. Everybody I talk to says, well, did you read this one about Ted Turner? Did you read this one about... Start with this one, if you would, please. Reverend Ike, and you're going to get hooked on the process. I promise you. I don't mind sharing it and showing it. I'll put it in front of my face. He and I are great friends, and it's behind me on the screen there. Next slide. You need to take notes. At Mitzi Purdue's family, you cannot be an heir at 40 years old unless you write your biography and then do it once every decade. I thought, wow, what a great idea. Everybody needs to do it. And the reason you need to do it is so you can hand it forward to your family. Wouldn't you like to know what your progeny, your ancestors did last generation? I'd love to spend more time with my dad and mom, who were passed away, of course, but I'd like to go 5 generations back and know what they did, because they must have been smart, because this didn't come from nowhere. That's what's wrong with atheism. Nothing times nothing equals nothing. Something times something equals something. So I had great parents that totally loved my brothers. We only got boys in the family, 4 of us, and me. But you want to leave your values, your principles, your philosophy, your trials, tribulations, and processes so the next generation can do it. Next slide, please. I want you to consider the benefits, whether you do something with us or not, to carry on your story. The next 5 generations ought to know what you said, did, thought, felt, and what it was like to live in these times, because these are the best of times if you're awake, alive, and enthusiastic. They're the worst of times if you spend your time in crisis news media. Next slide. It just gives resolve. You read it and you find somebody else overcame their difficulties, so you have this resources, as they say in Australia, where Australia's having problems, and they've just hired me to come and do the major shows there again. It's just amazing. And I'm honored to do it. I'm honored to think I could do it. I'll just give you an example of that. When the worst earthquake, 100,000 people died in Taiwan, the Prime Minister in Taiwan called me 3 times and said, you got to fly here and cheer me on. I said, look, I'm just a simple motivational speaker. I don't think you were hiring the right guy. I hate earthquakes. At the time I lived in California and I lived through Northridge. I lived through 3 earthquakes. I don't like earthquakes. I don't like the earth to shake underneath my feet. Anyhow, he said, well, I've listened to every one of your audio tapes, Dr. Hansen. You're coming. And he calls up my 13-year-old daughter, Melanie, and says, Melanie, I understand from the tapes that you got your dad wrapped around the little finger. You got to get your dad to come. I only had 4 days, even potentially open, to fly 17 hours one way, talk for 2 days, and come back. I got there and the buildings were still shaking and the ground had dropped like in Alaska, 2 blocks down, and the people were dead. And on the way there, I'd read every presidential story that was given by the Red Cross. And I just raised enough blood for the Red Cross for 1.5 years in advance. Because remember, I told you, you got to tie your thinking, your time, your talent, treasures, and be thankful in advance that you do all that. I read all these speeches and I said, look, the worse Mother Nature is, the better human nature is. And the head of Buddhism, who I got to meet and spend a couple hours with interviewing, was amazing. They had very much similitude to Christianity, which I didn't know because I'm a Christian and a faith guy. But she had gotten blankets out to 100,000 people overnight. She'd gotten them into resource centers because there was no political Red Cross there. I just was astounded. But that's a kind of story that needs to be shared so you know that there's hope, and hope will bring you help, because hope has you tie yourself, and if you're at the end of your rope, a knot so you can hold on just a little bit longer. Next slide. The benefits of publishing are is you wake up that inner you at levels. It's the only way I say you can live twice, because you relive all the perceptions you had. Now you're going to have new perceptions about them. And here, where I live in Arizona, Navajo country, Navajos say anyone that dies without having written their biography has a whole library that's burnt down. Don't let your library burn down. Make sure your story is told. Next slide. I didn't know I was going to go through all this. Next slide, please. You're here to be either a good example or a bad example. The benefit is you're going to be a good example. And I want you to understand that people in your future are going to read your story and be better off because of it. I'm just cheering you on. You don't have to publish with me, you can publish with anyone, but you've got a story in you and it's got to come out, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or multiple stories, sequences and prequels. But the richest place in the world is a graveyard, because people died and left their story in them, their music in them, their inventions in them, their business in them. Don't do anything until you've tapped out everything and done everything you're possible to do. So you can't leave the world without recording your legacy or videotaping it. Okay, Ken, open us back up and let's open it to questions, ladies and gentlemen. We are so thankful that you've been investing so much time and energy with Xavier and Crystal, and Cliona will come back on too. And you're allowed to ask any question you want. And because I don't have a screen share, Cliona, you're either going to have to read the questions, or we're going to have Ken on with us too. He can read the questions and answer them too.
Okay, absolutely. There, Ken is in the house. This has been amazing. You want to see all the comments? Mark,
incredible. Wow.
I hope it's been a while. It's been a while with me for the whole. I can't even believe a week has disappeared, because I can talk for Xavier because he and I are such close friends. This hasn't it vanished this week, Xavier?
It's been incredible. It's just amazing. And, to get to what you were saying, Mark, about morphogenesis and exponential positive impact, that's what my dad had. And that's what we're encouraging people to step into here. That's why the title of the book is Reverend Ike, A Life of Extraordinary Influence, because he had tremendous positive impact, and it was exponential. Now, there's an example I heard that can explain exponential impact to you. Arithmetic, of course, is slower. I mean, that's still wonderful expansion and change, but exponential is so much broader. If you imagine a pond, for example, and there's algae starting to grow in that pond, it may be a month or so. You will notice daily that, there's a little more algae today, and then on the 30th day, all of a sudden, half the pond is filled. And then the next day, the entire pond is covered. That's a rate of exponential increase. And that's what we're looking to get to here with this inspirational material from my dad and from everybody that's offered in the bundle here. When we turn people on, the more we turn people on, the more they turn others on. And you can imagine this morphogenic field of positivity going out and filling that egg-shaped universe. The entirety of all that is actually a multiverse. There are many of those, but the morphogenic field, it fills everything. And that's what we're looking to do here. As we unpack our bounty, as we inhabit that bounty, it ripples out in the morphogenic field, and it ripples back, and it blesses everyone. I mean, Christ gave us that example of morphogenesis. Where two or more are gathered in my name, in my nature, in my consciousness, there I am in your midst. That is the morphogenic field that is constellated when we come together as one mind and understand that Christ is within us, and we bring that forth. Boom, that's when the miracles happen. And one of the titles in that bundle has to do with financial miracles. Imagine watching your bank account and you're keeping that thing, as my dad said in the visualization, at the top of mind and you're feeding it, you're nourishing it, like the seeds that we planted in the ground, as we've been talking about, sowing these seeds of prosperity and reaping abundance. Those are the seeds, and we water them with the power of our imagination and with our ability to heal and become whole. As we do that, they begin to grow. They grow arithmetically first, but then they begin to grow exponentially. Imagine how that will look in your bank account. Okay, you got a certain amount in your bank account now, and you start doing this work at a spiritual and soul level, understanding, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want for anything. That's the basis, because I am a divine child of God, a child of the King. I'm deserving of all God's goodness. That changes the ground of being right there. That shifts that field and allows a larger field to start to coalesce around you. And you may start to see the money increase. One day, like that pond, oh, there's more money here. There's more money here. On the 30th day, my goodness, I've got 50% more money than I've ever had in my bank account before. And the next day, what? 100% more than I've ever had. These are the miracles that can happen. And as I said, a miracle is something that's beyond our ability to expect, beyond our ability to imagine. Because, the thing is, it requires trust. Because these miracles are on their way to us, because we've all put forth such desire for goodness, for great things, for all kinds of health, happiness, love, success, prosperity, money. That was my dad's, one of his mantras. We put out such great intentions, and there's so much goodness in the universe, in that wonderful egg-shaped universe that is bouncing around trying to come in. But when we fail to have the trust and the faith, being able to see what has not manifested yet, by opening our imagination up wide enough to start to let in enough of the light, if we don't do that, we're kind of putting like a cloaking device around our vibrational field, and it's going to bypass us. So the key to losing our money, as Dad would say, you have to take off that cloaking device and be willing to match and receive what's already on the way. Don't clog up the pipeline. It's coming to you. Open up the storehouse, open up the flow. Yes.
That's so awesome. I told Cliona yesterday, Mark, you were talking about living in faith and stepping out in faith, and Napoleon Hill talks about that. Reverend Ike talks about that. And I there was a story quick, 30 years ago ish, I was sitting in church, had $20 left in my name, and we'll just say my ex was with me, and she had it, the $20 in her purse. And I said, all right, the plate's going to come around. We had no money anywhere else, anywhere. I said, give me that $20. She said, no. I said, give me the $20. We're putting it in the plate. She said, no. She started crying. I said, give me the $20. I put the $20 in the plate, and she was mad. I mean, really upset. And we go at the end of the service, we go up, we're talking to this is a big 3,000 people in the congregation, huge televised church. We go up, we're talking to the pastor and his wife and his son and his wife, and all of a sudden this guy, and I stepped out in this massive amount of faith, spending money we didn't have to spend, right? And this guy taps me on the shoulder and says, hey, the Lord told me to come and introduce myself to you. And I turn around, and he's wearing this $3,000 suit, and I shake his hand, and I'm not wearing a $3,000 suit, by the way. I shake his hand. He says, what do you do? And we started talking, and he had a couple of cars that needed some stuff done. And that's what I did back then. And he goes, well, I'm going to give you $300 down right now. Pulls out a wad of $100 bills, gives me $300. Come to my house tonight, pick up my Porsche, and go take care of that, and I'll give you another $300 there. And we're driving home, and I look over. Of course, I'm being cocky, and I look over at my ex, and I go, "Any questions?" So you gotta step out in that faith. Like it was the biggest lesson of my life, stepping out in massive faith, and that's just the way I live today.
Yeah, that's the law. I mean, everything I've done, Ken, I love your story. Everything I've done to get here, I've taken massive risks. People said, Cliona, if you lost your mind, what are you doing? Why are you spending all this money on personal development? Like literally, my family stopped talking to me for a while. They thought I went cuckoo. And now they're all so proud of me, and they're like, wow, you made it, you're doing it. And I'm like, yes, this is what I was telling you about. That's why I want you to study with us. Are you listening, my sister? But you can't force people. You can only be an inspiration. That's one of the biggest questions we get here. How can you guide someone onto this journey? This week, I know I'm with my soul tribe, meeting all of you, Xavier, spending time with you, Mark, Crystal, all of the amazing speakers that we've had on here. The old me would have been really intimidated. The old me would have been really, right? I would have been like, oh my God, how am I going to sit with them? But now that I've done the work and I study, I understand who I really am. I understand who I really am. And I know I am one with the divine. I know that abundance is available to all of us. I know through Napoleon Hill's teachings, your father's teachings, we have to make decisions in faith. And that's what I want all of you watching this. You have to make decisions backed by faith. Backed by faith, just like everyone is teaching today.
Yes, and it always comes back to that essence that my father taught, which is the God in you, God in you, God in you. The divine force of the universe exists in you, has given you breath, has given you life, and is animating you at this very moment. Do you not think that force that created all that is has the ability to fill your bank account right now, to fulfill whatever need you had right now? My dad, in the visualization, I heard him say that prosperity is being loved, being fully loved. That's a certain component of prosperity. And we know that is a component that people deal with. But we know that God is love. And since God is inside of us, since we are made of God, we are love. At an atomic level, a cellular level, at the deepest level, we are love. And when we let ourselves vibrate at that level, everything is taken care of. I shall not want, because I am guided by the God that is in me, around me at every moment.
It's so beautiful. So beautiful. We are blessed. The Napoleon Hill Institute, in my opinion, has, I'm just going to say it, we have the best community on the planet right now in the personal development industry, and we're growing rapidly. We have hundreds of coaches all over the world standing by to serve and bring this message to the masses. Xavier agreed to come and be with us and do meditation with us and answer questions as well. So I want to encourage all of you. The calendars are getting booked up, by the way. When you were talking, Mark, they had to change one of the links because they're booking all the appointments. So listen, if you're booking for your complimentary coaching call, if you don't see a time on the calendar, check back, keep refreshing, go back and check it, because we're adding more and more coaches onto it. And for those, make sure, Mark, can you bring up the book again, please, to make sure everybody knows you must go out. If it's the only thing you take away from this whole week of incredible teachings, is this book right here. This is so important. Everybody, you need to get at least 3. 3 is the minimum. 3 is the minimum. And I'm going to miss this. This week has been so good. I'm going to miss it. I know we all probably want a break, but I could go for another week, to be honest. It's been so good. And what I'm going to do tomorrow, because of all the questions coming in, I'm going to do a bonus session tomorrow on Zoom, a live Q&A at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to see who I can get to come in with me. It's going to be a live Q&A, 2 p.m. Eastern, a bonus session for you. So I'll send you out all the details. We have went way over time, but I'm happy to stay on and answer a few questions. What do you think?
Let's do 3 questions.
Yes.
All right, let's get 3 questions. All right. A question from Christina for Xavier and Cliona. What is your favorite Napoleon Hill quote and why, and how has it influenced your life? Okay, I can start there. My favorite quote is that with every seed of adversity, there's an equal or greater benefit. And the reason why I love that quote is because, I've been through a lot of my life. I'm still, experiencing what maybe you would call hardship, but I hold on to that quote because no matter what I'm going through, divorce, loss, pain, that I truly believe that something equal or something better is on its way. And I hold faith that even if I am in pain, even if I am struggling, I know how good God's grace is. So that's my favorite quote. Bring the pain on. That's okay. I got it. I know something good's coming. So that would be my favorite. And I want to share it with the world. You can have it too.
Oh, there are so many great Napoleon Hill quotes. One of them I love is, if you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. And I like that because I see that, just speak for myself personally. So many times I get caught up in having to do the big thing, and I overlook what's right in front of me to do. Love pays attention to detail. And a lot of detail has to do with small things often. When we enter those small tasks and accomplish those small things from that mindset of love and devotion, that's huge success in my book. And when we take each step with that kind of consciousness, it opens us up to the big things, to the grand things. And this morphogenic field we're talking about, having influential and exponential positive impact, when each of us is facing everything that we do, getting up in the morning, orienting ourselves towards positivity, meditating, breathing, everything that seems so small, but bringing our attention, bringing our conscious focus into these small things, getting up, having a good day at work, facing this admin task that, personally for me, admin tasks, oh my goodness. But I'll tell you, when I face an admin task with a sense of, okay, this is a moment where I can exercise my appreciation, my gratitude, and be magnetized for something greater here, I actually experienced fun doing something I thought was just either menial or, grunt work. And it opens me up to the next great thing. So, yeah, that's a quote that's been very inspiring to me.
I love that. I love it. I'm glad that I'm not the only one. Now my team, you see, there's somebody else like me. Okay, team. Okay, next one. Let's see. This one's for you, Mark. Any tips on how to get the story inside out?
Well, I assume your name is pronounced Handy. Handy, that is a good question, likes of which I've never heard before. But what I'm going to tell you to do is just take pen and paper and say, because we've been doing this from a spiritual point of view, God in me knows the story I'm supposed to write, and I'm just going to start writing. And some people call it automatic writing, instant writing. It's got lots of names. The names don't matter. The competence is built in. Just like the competence for you to breathe in and breathe out, like Reverend Ike said, you can't give a breath until you take one. Same thing here. You just start, and I've been writing since I was 16 and loved it. And 2 things. Not only can you not stop me from writing, but you can't stop me from talking, which is dangerous. You ask me a question, have multiple travel here. I could talk for an hour, but I'm going to give it back to Cliona.
Okay, one last thing. By the way, I had to do this because if I don't do it, they'll be really mad at me. We have a huge group and community in Denmark now, coaches and clients, and so Mark, they want you to give them a shout out. I don't know if you can speak Danish, but
I just said Tak skal du ha, which means thanks to all in Denmark. So, and by the way, my wife and I were in Denmark just recently, and my dear friend Xavier travels to Europe on even more often than I do. So we're there, and sometime when I'm there speaking, I hope you'll all come out. And like I said earlier, if you guys take some of these book offers, we're going to send you when any one of the of us is around. We'll sign it, and we give Cliona full permission to sign Reverend Ike's book. Isn't that right, Xavier?
Please do, Cliona.
Oh, wow.
And same for you, Ken. We love it.
Wow, what an honor. Yes, we'll be in Denmark next year. We'll talk about that event. So, okay, so Ken, we haven't heard from you right now.
Well, do you see this question? I'm going to pop this up on screen. I think this is a really, really good question. And I think that you guys, and I'll address it too, but,
yes, I can answer it. If someone's scared to purchase any of the bundles,
sorry, there it is.
because they think it might not work. This might work for others, but not for them. What would you recommend? I would tell them the courage to be happy. I would tell them, listen, make a decision. Decision means to cut off from. See, that's an excuse and an alibi. That's your lower self trying to talk you out of something. And ask yourself the question, what do I want? Always go back to what do I want? And if you want to change in your life, you want to go into 2024 with a new transformation, just book your call. One of our coaches, you have nothing to lose. They'll coach you. They'll even give you a plan for 2024, your own personal development plan. No one's ever done this before. I don't know anybody's doing this. So 2024, you'll have a personal development and prosperity plan. Just do it anyways. What would W. Clement Stone say? Do it now, right? Do it now.
Yes, and also to, Johnny Coleman, another giant, a Black New Thought giant, who was my dad's spiritual sister. They called each other their spiritual brother and sister. She said, it works if you work it. So if you work this material, it will work for you. The thing is, you have to work it from your worth. If you think it's going to work for others and not for you, to me, that speaks to an issue of self-worth. Now, again, we need to come back to this idea of God in you that my father talks about and in the book, and that you will see this principle active in him, and he will coach you through this book of how to let that God in you come forth to completely illuminate your sense of self-worth. Because the truth is, you who asked that question, and every human being on this planet, has 100% self-worth. The thing is, we're not completely aware of that. So it's a matter, again, of unpacking that bounty. Your worth is part of the bounty that God placed in you. And it's part of your responsibility as a good steward for that which needs to grow within you, and then offer it to the world to say yes to that bounty, magnify it, bring it forth. Just think. Just suspend your disbelief for a moment and think, what if this did work for me? What would be the maximum I would dare to dream that this could do in my life and that I could do with it? Take that into your dreams at night as you're going to sleep, and just allow the self-worth to start to grow, and the rest will dissipate. And it will work if you work it.
I'd like to answer the question too, if I may. My best friend in the world, Glenn Morshower, who's been in 270 movies and television shows. He's a brilliant speaker, amazing human. And he said this not too long ago. I heard him say it to a group of people. He said, you already won the greatest race of your entire life before you were ever born into this world. You literally outswam 500 million sperm to get here. That's the greatest race you will ever win. And you did that so you could be here to manifest the glory of God into this world. What did you have in mind? What did you have in mind? Was it to if somebody's thinking about, I'm going to pull the question back up, but if somebody is thinking about, or they've responded about, or they're looking about becoming a coach or doing any of these packages, you already know the answer. You already know the answer. It's there. That's the only reason you're thinking about it. You already know you're supposed to. You came here, you won that giant race before you were ever born to do something huge in this world. When are you going to stop playing small?
So keep swimming, huh, Ken? Keep swimming.
Keep swimming. That's right.
That's right.
I do the last hitchhiking ad. I'm in Westminster Abbey in London, of course. And this old Archbishop had on his funeral pyre, and it said, at first I wanted to change the world, and then I found out I couldn't do that. So then I wanted to change my family. I couldn't do that. Then I found out that if I change me by studying self-help action stuff, then I can change my family and change the world. You are asking that question because what Xavier and Ken and Cliona just said, the little you is trying like crazy to break through the 499 million sperm and get through like more shower, our dear friend says. Cliona, I hope that wasn't too crass.
No, it's okay. But listen, we have to have fun here. Okay.
and I think we're all grown adults. We know how babies are made. So like, come on. This is real life. I mean, if you've corresponded with anybody about any of these packages, you already know the answer. It's already there. Like you responded because you know you're supposed to.
I listened today to obviously Warren Buffett's partner at 99, Charlie Munger, just died. And the last thing he said was, we both learned the best investment we've ever made is in ourselves. When you invest in yourself, you grow, learn, develop, and become all that you can be. And Warren spends, he says, 5 to 6 hours a day reading. So the richest investor of all time has got the same message that we're saying. Invest in yourself. There's no risk because this is a risk-free investment because you're going to be infinitely better off. You're going to make others better off, and you're going to have people thanking you in their prayers, just like we're praying for you right now. We're praying that you let that greatness out of you. Like Disney said, when you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. You are here to shine, be radiant, and exuberantly source and serve others. And all we are is we're the little light, like I said. You light your candle on ours, makes world fourfold brighter. It's that quick.
Look at this. We have some of our coaches in the chat. I see Megan popping up. She said, we are ready and willing to receive you with open arms of love. Be a steward with us at NHI.
And we'll give you an air hug like Reverend Ike used to teach. Oh, I started with air hug.
That's right. Yep.
Big air hug. And that's what we're doing. It's not, oh, here's a course, go study it on your own, see you later. It's no, come on in, get a hug, feel the love. Yes, everybody knows me. Once you get to know me, I do mean business. There is work to do. And, I'm really focused on discipline, strengthening your will, because I know how to get people's results. I can get anyone results within 90 days if they do exactly what we tell them to do, which we are going to give you in the self-discipline camp. Yeah.
Are you trying to tell us the show is over, Ken?
I didn't do that. That wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
And Cliona, just let me say with what you're saying, in honor of you and NHI and Reverend Ike Legacy, I mean, these bundles, including Wisdom of the Master Series, How to Loose Your Money, Divine Self-Awareness, Abundance Blueprint, Unleash Financial Miracles, and never before heard material from my father. I personally commit to be part of the coaching of the program, if you would like. I'd be happy to help to facilitate and participate in any way that I can. I'm available for this. This is very important, as you say. We don't just give these things and have people flounder about. I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. It really, if you work it, it will work for you. But I'm happy to participate in the deploying of these wonderful.
Oh my God. You're
Well,
bringing tears to my eyes now. Stop it.
like I said, you can't lose with the stuff I use. This is the stuff itself, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to help you use it, all of us.
Absolutely.
Yes. Look at our clients and our coaches are going wild in the chat here. They know how incredible this offer is.
Wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you from my heart, Xavier. Thank you for, coming together with us, giving us the opportunity to highlight your father and to highlight your work too, because I listen to your meditation every night now. Miracles is my favorite. It's my favorite. I go to it every day. And now you're going to be part of the NHI community. It's even better. It's getting better and better. And Mark, thank you to you and Crystal for the opportunity, for coming together with us. This has been one of the best experiences in my life, especially in this industry. I have to say, this has been the best event I've ever been part of. Thank you. And Ken, you are the man behind the scenes, even though they didn't get to see you. Me and Ken laugh all the time. We text each other, we tell jokes. But he has worked around the clock from morning to night to make this all come together beautifully. So Ken, I love you. Thank you so much.
Love you too. Thank you for allowing me to be a part. I'm very grateful. Mark, you know how much I love you and your wife. You guys are incredible people in my life. And Xavier, I know we just met a month ago or however long it's been, but man, I love you and what you're doing. This has been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Cliona, thank you so much. And Napoleon Hill Institute, all of you wonderful people. Thank you for this beautiful platform. And yes, Ken, I so appreciate your support and your consciousness in what we're doing. And to my wonderful, prolific co-author, Mark Victor Hansen, let's
thank you.
Let's send out the vibes with this book and bless the world.
Let's do it. Everyone, bless the world. 3 people minimum. Get the book for 3 people at the lowest. Get one of our bundles, and at the least get on and get your coaching call. I'm going to be working all weekend. I've marked my calendar from 9 to 9 at night, and you might even get on a call with me, and I will give you the best that I have, because somebody did that for me 10 years ago. Somebody did that for me, and it's my duty and it's our responsibility to share it with you. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Go to prosperitysummit2023.com and you will see all of the holiday packages there. We want to bless you all, and we're going to do this again. We're just getting started. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you all.